Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the Morning Dump. I am your host, Jose Galison, and this is the kitty of the day, Ren. She's a chocolate tortie, pretty lady. I don't think she's pregnant right now, but chocolate tortie is actually kind of a rare color. You very rarely see those. We have two of them, her and actually one of her kids that ended up being a breeding mama. She'll probably get retired sometime soon. But for those of you guys who enjoy the show, like seeing my hot takes Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, that's the goal. We don't always make it. We didn't make it today. Holiday season screwing everything up. Or if you just like to see the kitty of the day, then be sure to subscribe and be sure to hit that bell for notifications because, like I said, we don't always go on time. So make sure it lets you know when we go. But the goal is 11 a.m. And we'll get into it. Look forward to seeing you guys in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine. It's a beautiful day.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning. How's the audio sounding for you guys? Everything sounding good? Let me know. We have plenty to go through today. We got Susie Wile'n Out, the Trump chief of staff, just dropped all sorts of crazy deets. We'll go through that. We got false flag antisemitism, going into a whole lot of wild stuff all over the place. I mean, there's too many of those to count. I mean, we're going through all the different flavors of it. And Candace shutting it down, and you're welcome for putting that to the back. I know everyone is, especially with my audience, is a little bit Candace fatigued, myself included, so I pushed that towards the back. If I was chasing the algo, we would have put that at the front, but that ain't me. We'll save it to the end. But yeah, well, obviously we start this show off typically with some icebreaker, funny gen pop type stuff. We'll start off with that sort of stuff. Then we'll whiplash it, take a complete 180, go from goofy to serious. Although I never really quite take it all that serious because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. But then we'll whiplash over to the foreign policy, and then from there we'll get into the main topics after that. What the hell? Who's calling me? All right, just got some number, whatever. I'll have to check that out after the show. Someone's just calling me. But yeah, we have plenty to go through today. We'll hope be sure to hit that like button as you come in. I saw I did a pretty good showing last night with Dana Duda. So I don't know, maybe we'll have some new people in the chat. Say hi. We'll say our good mornings intermittently between segments. I do put timestamps in, and I do try to keep the chat talk towards the end of each segment for those who do want to listen back on audio or something like that. Or just on the replay and want to skip about. But we have plenty to go through. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start off with the first icebreaker story of the day. This is basically me e-begging to start off the show. A little e-begging here. This is essentially about VA disability. I found this somebody. I think it was Marjan, frequent producer of the show, helps me find content. I appreciate you guys. Do want to remind you guys that is a thing of the show. Tag me online. Tag me at Terrorgang Jose, and you guys help create the show because I try not to spend too much time on Twitter. So if you guys are on there and you see something interesting, let me know. But here's a little e-begging. Just you guys have been following the show long enough. Know I could have VA disability, but I don't know. I just for a litany of reasons, partially laziness. Partially also just, I don't know, feel scummy. But I know here's a little video kind of exposing the goofiness that is our VA disability system. So, and with that, keep in mind I could be stealing from you. So if you do find value from the show, I don't know, contribute a little. Just saying. We got the QR code up here. I don't remember which way it's at right now. I don't have the screen up, so I can't tell, but it's up there. We got the QR code. Patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Keep in mind, I could be stealing from you. Although, to be fair, I did spend like basically a decade plus stealing from you guys in the military. So I don't know how much can I really e-bag over this, but watch this and see the degree to which military members take you for a run with your money, even after they're out. But they're definitely doing it while they're in. But it's even more egregious, I think, when they're out. But go ahead and watch this.
What do you do now?
I just get VA disability. That's how I'm supporting myself.
Oh, wow. How much does that bring in on a monthly basis?
38, 32 a month.
Is that enough to live on in Oklahoma City?
Absolutely. I got a house. I got a brand new truck. I got a Harley.
Okay.
So he makes $3,400 a month. His checks are about $1,600 every 2 weeks. And then he also gets his disability every month, which is $4,447.
Yeah.
Huh? Wait, what was that?
$4,447 he gets every month from his disability.
Disability what?
VA.
You're in the military?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Wait, what hits your account? Sorry, for VA?
$4,447.
Whoa, that's crazy. Whoa, what is this VA benefits? That's like $9,000.
It's $1,200 or $1,900 a month, every month. The $9,000 was a back pay for them back paying me.
What is this? Is this disability?
Yes.
There is not one veteran that has been on the show that does not have disability, by the way.
Yeah.
So does every veteran in the world that you know have disability?
As far as I know.
To add to that real quick, I will say basically every veteran I know does have disability. I'm pretty much like the lone one, and I always, like, the few times I talk to like military buddies or whatever, if anything, I almost get the side eye, like almost like I'm the fucking weird one. Like, no, I mean, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I totally get it to some extent, the idea of like whatever, they're going to steal it from you later anyways, but at the same time, you'd think you'd feel a little gross. The vibe, it always seems a little off. It's like, what, you don't like just getting money for nothing and stealing from people? No, I don't really care for it.
I make $47.50. So together we bring in around $11,000 or $12,000.
How are you making money?
Oh, I'm a VA disability with dependents. We have 2 kids.
Right. Okay. $4,700 twice a month?
No, I make $4,700 once a month, and he makes $3,600 twice a month, and it equals between 11 and 12.
Are you going to get disability too?
Oh, yes, I will.
There is not a single veteran that has come on the show that does not just get endless money for the rest of their life with disability.
It breaks your body and
really
mind.
does. I'm old.
Get the fuck out of here. Okay, well, to be fair, I guess it depends. To some degree, yes. People do say that dumb shit in the military all the time, but I'd say most people coming out are pretty fine. I mean, I don't know. Does it really do that? I guess it depends on the job. I mean, I was a mechanic, so yes, there was like, people do get kind of beaten down after 20 years or so, but I mean, come on. I don't know. To some degree, I understand it, especially, I talk about McVeigh and the Oklahoma City bombing a ton. I mean, obviously, if you look into that, some of the wild stuff they were doing to the veterans back then, using them as guinea pigs, there is a fair argument to be said, like, hey, the government completely fucked you over. It went way far beyond the limits of what, I know reasonably someone would have signed up for. I don't know. It's somewhat fair for Uncle Sam if they give you, I don't know, fucking, what was the shit? I'm trying to think of, or just Gulf War syndrome. I was trying to think of what the other one was. There's been a few different of these things where people will get odd sicknesses during certain eras of the military. So yeah, I kind of get it, but to some degree, it's become entirely insane. I literally every veteran that I know has it. And on top of that, it's actually like literally people I know that are fucking fine and will look me in the face and tell me I am fine. There is nothing really wrong with me, and they'll have like 100% disability. So, which, I mean, I guess to some degree, more power to you.
I've done a lot. I'm a police officer for the Navy.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of hardworking stuff throughout the time.
Yeah.
Which I got issues all around.
All right, moving on. Did you know Jack Posobiec wrote fan fiction called The Lady the Trump, where 69-year-old Donald Trump, transported to Westeros, falls in love with a teenage girl, Sansa Stark. I just found this the other day. I feel like I'd heard tell of this before, but let's read a little bit just for fun. This is The Lady and the Trump. Ooh. It says, the first time Donald Trump locked eyes with her, he built a tower straight to Sansa's heart. Sansa knew he had won her faster than he had won the support of the Night's Watch, due to her similar views on immigration, namely Lady of Winterfell and Warden of the North. After King Stannis won the Iron Throne, Sansa's next duty was to find a suitable husband. She needed someone strong. someone with the resources and know-how to rebuild the war-torn North. The Donald was all those things and more. The way he held himself as a true lord. The way he spoke with the confidence of a great leader. The way his hair fell onto his forehead and neck and ears and kind of on one soldier's shoulder but not the other. Yes, he is the one for me, thought Sansa. Still, she could not give away her affection too easily. Many others had come calling to woo her hand in marriage in the years since Sansa had ordered the quartering of Daenerys. Ravens had flown from as far away as Prince Tristan in Sunspear, and many had arrived from Lord Theon on Pike. She had instructed Master Samwell to respond with only vague courtesy. They were ardent callers, but not right for the First Lady of Winterfell in her own right. A hasty marriage to the Donald, however, and rumor and folly would spread throughout the lands, and the specter of another war would rise. Sansa glanced back from the window well at the Donald, who was sitting backwards in one of the wooden chairs of the great hall. Listen, Sansa, I know this is a big decision for you, he started. I guess I should probably do Trump voice here, shouldn't I? Listen, Sansa, I know it's a big decision for you, he started. But let me tell you something. We will be phenomenal. I will cherish you as much as I cherish my first two wives and my own mother and my daughter even. I have many women that work for me. I'm going to do great things for women. Great things. Very, very, very good things. Sansa replied, That you may. But what will you do for the North? The North. Look now, what I mean is, it will be a huge game changer for the North. Huge, I mean. I am very, very, very smart, and I have a lot of respect for the Northerners. I put a lot of blood of the first men to work at my castles and keeps, and let me tell you, they absolutely demonstrably love me. They love me. I don't know why. I'm slipping back into English voice out of Trump voice. Let me get back into Trump voice. My whole body is ready for this. I'm not just saying this, Sansa Stark. I'm going to do it. He smiled and put on his big red hat that said, Make Westeros great again. All right, there's still another page of this. We're still got more to go. Oh, crap. Give me a second. Sorry, it's glitching. Let me see. All right. But what of threats from the east, Sansa implored. She was growing impatient at the Pentoshi landmonger's boisterousness and needed definite answers. She wanted to marry him so much her heart was about to jump out of her chest like Mola Ram in Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom? That's what a weird thing to make a separate fictional reference within another whatever. I don't know. Anyways, that was a weird fictional fanfic move. They were both beautiful. They were both gingers. It made so much sense. Even still, she put the needs of her people above her own desires, unlike the idiot Daenerys, who was now courted. Threats from the east? The Donald threw up his forefingers. Ah, shit, I was supposed to do Donald voice. It's only he could and continued. They're careless, they are. I'm glad you bring it up because China, China, Chin, Chiru. Yes, that is an issue as well, Sansa broke in. But I also mean the rising chaos in Slaver's Bay. One of Misa's abandoned the cities she had conquered. The former slaves rose up in a blood orgy of brutality and violence, installed one of their own, a new emperor. Just like 80, now their vengefulness is spreading across the continent, and they have brokered a treaty with the Dothraki. Those whiners, those slave losers, they're losers. What a bunch of goofballs. And to be honest, I'm going to be honest with you, Sansa. They're boring. Daenerys, she did an absolutely horrible job. She should be ashamed of herself if she was still alive. And she was an extremely unattractive woman. But I wouldn't say that because I'm always politically correct. Now I will crush them. Just crush them. There's so much going on with these buffoons here in the realm. So much. You know, Jaime Lannister apologized to me the other day. He did. But I will not accept his apology. I will be suing him for a lot of money. What an irrelevant clown. He thinks he can be Lord Commander when he doesn't even have a hand. Look at him. He sweats. I keep slipping into English voice. It's like an English Trump. Look at him. He sweats and shakes nervously as he talks about me. Zero cred. Zero. And I hear that Sleepy Eyes Davos will be fired like a dog. I can imagine it's taking so long. Then Stannis. Stannis did really poorly on television this morning. I hope he's okay. I do, because I love him. He's a good guy. But he needs a new pair. Like, what is this? You know, now there's television in Westeros. All right. At that moment, oh, dang it. That's Trump voice. At that moment, Sansa knew. She walked over to the Donald and stared at him deeply until he stopped ranting and looked down at her. He's so fragile, so vulnerable, she thought. He stepped back and brought up his hand, putting into his trademark thumb and forefinger to deliver her to the snap words so many had heard before. And just before he could, she grabbed his hand and laced her thin fingers in with his. Staring in his eyes, she said, You're hired. Okay, apparently Jack Posobiec wrote this. Wow, that is something, huh? That is sure something. This is a lady in the Trump. Here's the archive. This person saying confirmed it's his blog. I guess they're pulling this from Vice. Says the majority of Posobiec's writing prior to late in the presidential campaign was on a blog he ran called Angry Game of Thrones Fan. Starting in 2012, Posobiec wrote what he calls satirical fan fiction, made videos and even had a podcast wherein he took a sniveling, whining voice, all as a Game of Thrones fan. So yeah, apparently according to Vice, this is him. I guess so. Take it for what it's worth. I mean, I've made some allusions to these guys all being fruitcakes behind closed doors. I don't know. Internet's never defeated, it seems. Fruitcakes abound. And moving on, we got Trump. Is going to give an address to the nation tonight. Here's what he said. Say, my fellow Americans, I'll be giving an address to the nation tomorrow night. That was from yesterday. Live from the White House at 9 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to seeing you then. It's been a great year for our country, and the best is yet to come. President Donald J. Trump. Apparently the best is yet to come. I guess there's a Q line. So that's what Nick Hinton. That's why I have this tweet up right here. I guess he says he ends his post with a QAnon slogan. I was not aware of this, so I don't know. Add a little juiciness to this, and then we're also got a little bit of flirting. We've had some talk about perhaps going for another term. So let's check in and see. Apparently, Dershowitz, which I guess this is the company that Donald Trump and Miriam Adelson keep, is people like Alan Dershowitz, but apparently they're still kicking around the idea of a third term. So let's see what they got to say about that.
Miriam Adelson, you want to come up here? Come up here. Miriam gave my campaign indirectly and directly $250 million. She was number one. When somebody can give you $250 million, I think that we should give her the opportunity to say hello. And Miriam, make it quick, because $250 million is not what it used to be. Okay? Hello, darling. Come in. Incredible woman with a great husband, a man that loved Israel.
Well, Mr. President, when you were in the Israeli parliament and you gave a speech and you saw me from far away, and at that time I came with a scooter to the parliament just to hear you. I wanted to hear you alive.
This bitch barely even speaks English, and she gave $250 million to Donald Trump for his administration. Now, to be fair, it's probably a little bit of a J trick. I don't know what it is. I mean, who knows? She could have been born here. I mean, I think Netanyahu was born in the States, and he lived here for most of his young adult life. So to some degree, I do think, I don't know, obviously maybe it's not intentional. Maybe it's a matter of learning Hebrew, being around there. I have no idea what it is, if it's just an act or what, but it seems like you take a Jew from New York, they'll be all talking like this, and then 3 years later, they'll be talking like Miriam Adelson here.
And then you say, Miriam Adelson, and I stood for a second, but it was so painful, so I sat. Then you screamed, Miriam, stand up! And I wish you would have known, but I stood up and heard all your compliment, and thank you very much.
I saw you back there standing.
Yeah, you saw me.
She stood
Thank
up
you.
bravely.
And now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years, and I said, Alan, I agree with you, so we can do it. Think about it.
Alan's here someplace. Where's Alan?
Alan is here, or he had a flight? Alan is here? Think about it.
Thank you.
Maybe I will be the first one who told you, or second. Yeah.
She said, think about it. I'll give you another $250 million.
I will give.
But her husband, Sheldon, was an amazing guy, and he'd come up to the office, and there was nobody more aggressive than Sheldon. I think I spent more time with him and you, because you usually came up together, but he'd call and say, can I come over, please? I say, Sheldon, I'm president of the United States. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's like maybe tomorrow. How about tomorrow? No, please, just for a little while. And he'd always say 10 minutes. It turned out to be about an hour and a half, right? And what he did is he fought for Israel. That's all he really fought for. He just wanted to take care of. He just wanted to take care of Israel. So he was a great guy. He was a fantastic man, and he loved you so much he couldn't see straight. So good. Thank you, darling. Be careful.
There's really no commentary to be had when they just say all the quiet part out loud. I mean, takes all the oomph out of anything I would have to say. So let's pop through chat, say our good mornings, checking on you fine fellows, and then we'll get into the foreign policy section of the show. Good morning, Wise Elk. See you popping off in the chat, saying Christian Zionists are so frustratingly obtuse. They have become an impediment to freedom. The damn way. Let me see. It says I could give a fuck less about this influencer drama too. Yup. Anyone that watches these controlled opposition cogs and the regulars sidelining themselves and not in the game. You're right on the money. And good morning to you as well, Wise Elk. Hit that like button, everybody. Good morning, Black Eye. Good morning. Black Eye saying the candy ops kicking into phase 2. Disillusionment sure seems that way. We talked about that quite a bit last night with Dana Duda. Good morning, Fire Pixie. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Shayuon. It was good talking to you last night. He joined the show in the second half, which, for those who are unaware, and already did the second half of the show, we allow patrons to come on with video calls to hang out. So he got to hang out with me, Austin, Dana, and Jacob as well. So we were all hanging out back there. Fire Pixie with a second good morning, because she's hanging out over on Rumble and YouTube, doubling up the algo, hook a brother up. Good morning, Uncle Ted. Says, I listened to your Wendy series? What is my Wendy series? I don't know what you mean by that. Good morning, Rock. Maybe you mean like my OKC series? Good morning, Rock Biz. Good morning. Who else we got? Good morning, John Black. Good morning. Good morning, Gottis. Good morning, Tom33. Oh, I'm hearing everyone saying audio is good, so that's good. Good morning, Che Coho. Good morning, Marty McFly, agreeing with me on the fatigue. Good morning, Cubertimo. Good morning. Good morning, Marna Mac, rolling in with the G. Good morning, Retardio Genio. Good morning. Who else we got? Good morning, everybody. Who else? Oh, is that Tilla? I think it's first we've seen you in there. I said, we fucking did it. God is good. Good morning, Tilla. Good morning. Get disabilities, what everybody's saying now. Get your bag. You're not wrong. I probably should, but it feels like it just feels super gay. It's so gay, but I mean, whatever. Here's Wise Elk says, yet vets with real disability get shit on. Fuck the parasites. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I somewhat get it, because it's like, I mean, who mediates this? This is all like military people and all people just like, this is government. They don't care. They're giving away government money. So at the end of the day, the incentives in place naturally slide to we got to pay out everyone and we'll hook up everybody. I mean, you hear people a lot of times complain about how hard it is to get a certain rating, but then there's always these tips of the trade, like, oh, go to my guy and he knows how to finagle the system this way. So yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know. I think they should, honestly, and like, I really think military shouldn't get a goddamn thing. Like, no disability, nothing, not a fucking thing. Like, here's the deal: you want to fucking sign away your life for 4 years? This is what you get. You get a steady paycheck. You get this. You get that. I mean, I don't even think you should be able to do that. To be one, like, I'm an anarchist. Like, I don't think the military should exist. It completely. I think it literally all it is a detriment to society and the world at large. Especially as it is. Maybe you could make a case for the Guard or something. You know, some sort of national militia. But yeah, so I lean far more to like, well, that really sucks that you got your arm blown off in Fallujah. That was really stupid of a thing to do, wasn't it? I know it's a hard reality, but perhaps the perspective would change a little bit if you're sort of like, oh, cool, wow. The government gave me a steady paycheck and this and that, but yeah, that was really stupid. But I don't know. But it makes sense though. They want you guys to get in there, so they're gonna try to make it as sweet as possible. Good morning, Ray and Cap. Says, I don't think I hate the hate about the military, U.S. military, is those who suck their dicks, whether they fought for our freedoms. I get what you mean there. The wording was a little odd there, but yeah, I definitely get grossed out. I've always found it kind of gross. People will thank you for your service or whatever. You kind of go, thanks, just keep it moving. Who else we got? Say good morning to everybody. You guys chatting now. The Donald, he's so hot right now, says Uncle Ted. Yup. Way better in Trump voices, says Gottis. Yup. South Park voices, yes. Well, I watched too much South Park in my youth, so my voices do tend to just slowly morph into Cartman over time. It seems like Let me see. A cross between Cartman and Trump is what everybody says. Yeah, it's true. That's what my Trump voice sounds like. Yep, Trump voice turns into Cartman real quick. Yup. I don't know if I said good morning to you. Good morning, Alien Big Cat 23. Good to see you in the chat. What else we got? Good morning, Ribballer. RLB Baller says a pooping Candace. Ribble Bibble approved. Hell yeah. Let me see. Who else we got in the chat? Good morning, Boomer Slayer. I think that's the first I've seen you comment. Marnamac saying, I've never heard her talk. She is the epitome of a witch. Yeah, it does seem that way for sure, doesn't it? Tom Black says, I want another Donald J. Trump term. Our first Jewish president has a right to defend himself. He's our greatest ally. Yep. Rockbiz says Trump thinks you should sell out his country for $250 million, but God, I've never heard someone who sounds more like Cartman doing the Jennifer Lopez voice. Yeah, that the Jennifer Lopez voice always sticks with me too. I know what you're talking like. My taco flavor kisses. Like I've done that too many damn times. Like anytime I hear a Mexican voice, I do like it's weird. I do like references that I know like people don't even get. Like it's just how my brain works. I know you shouldn't do that. It's probably a little douchey. But like, especially my kids. So like, whenever they like will say somebody's like a Mexican or this person's a Hispanic, I'm like, oh my taco flavor kisses. Like I'll just like, Dad, stop it. So yes, I've got too much training with the Jennifer Lopez Cartman voice. That's what's going on there. Good morning, Aggressively Green. Good morning. Good morning, GL Jake. It says Miriam was born in Tel Aviv in 1945, 2 years before Israel's there. That makes her Palestinian. So that's what her accent is, Palestinian. So, but that does, I guess she's not playing trickery. That probably is a legit accent for her. But you do hear a lot of times about them going over there or they're being like in the States forever, and then you'll hear them talking. You're like, why do you have an accent? Like, why? I mean, like I understand maybe a little bit, but they'll have a crazy over the top one, kind of like Netanyahu. He's a good example because I think he grew up in like Pennsylvania or something like that. So, good morning, Tony Chin. Good morning. Marty McFly says Nick Hinton rocks. Yeah, I like him too. Who is he? Does anyone even know who he is? Does he do something? Does he have a show? He just showed up. Started showing up in my algorithm or on Twitter, and I was like, oh, these are some interesting tweets. And I guess he followed me, and I didn't realize it, so I followed him back. And he has like almost 200,000 followers, and he doesn't follow a lot of people. So I was like, I don't know why he's following me. Maybe he watches the show, but I do like his content. I kind of want. Does he do a show or something? Because I'm like, he's got some interesting thoughts. I'd like to hear him. So let me know. I'm not trying to like big time anyone. He's clearly got a way bigger platform than I do. But this is the way of the world now. You'll meet people that have like hundreds of thousands of followers or whatever, have huge platforms, and you're like, and on the vice versa too. On Twitter, you'll see people that have like maybe 1,000 followers, and then you'll look into their YouTube or something, or you'll find out they have a podcast, and they're like, oh, this is like one of the top 20 podcasts in the nation. You're like, they're like, effectively, you wouldn't bat an eye just scrolling past their account on Twitter. So weird world we live in, weird world. But I am curious if he does something. Let me know. Oh, my series about Wendy. Oh, I see what you're talking. That one where I was covering in the. I totally forgot I did that. I was covering her latest research, digging into all that stuff. Okay, yeah, I forget. There was a lot of weird, disparate stuff in there. So I forget most of the stuff in there. So I get what you're talking about now. Who else we got? Let's finish up our good mornings. We're almost all caught up. Every dollar of our taxes you take is a dollar not spent on bombing kids for Israel. That's a good point, Bug Fights. That's a good point. It just feels wrong. Good morning, Ruz Helly. Can you sing Kyle's Mom's a Bitch? Maybe one of these days. I'll have to. I don't know the lyrics offhand. So, but I'd probably do a pretty good job of that. Till Spook Pasobik was who wrote that stuff. Yes, that was Pasobik. Good morning, Shaz in the cornfield. Says Trump is going to earn that Adelson money tonight. Yeah, it's like that. What, the PlayStation meme or whatever? Like with like the young black dude next to the old lady. And is like, I get my PlayStation now, right? Who else we got? Let's catch up. See if there's anyone else new in the chat to say hello to. Marty McFly says check Nick Hinton's most recent visit on Higher Side Chats. Was big Saturn conspiracy guy and now Orthodox. Interesting story. Maybe I'll have to hit him up to come on the show. I'll check. Maybe I'll have to check that one out later. Let me see. Catching up. Tony Chin says Wendy's now is a fully integrated AI drive-through ordering system. Yes, it recognizes slurs and swears. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to go to Wendy's now. And they'd be like, sir, this isn't AI. And you just called me a hard R. Like, whoa, I'm sorry. I was just having fun. Is this not America? All right, guys, we're all caught up in the chat. Let's get into, whoa, 1 second. Black Eye says, great episode. Knowles, too. Nick Hinton's been on Knowles' show. I forget what his name. Michael Knowles? Or is it the guy from Daily Wire? Is that what you're talking about? He's been on there? If so, pretty impressed. Does he not have a show or something? Like, how does people even know about him? Is it just from he's gotten fire tweets and so everyone's putting him on the show? I don't know. I'm curious. Let me know. All right, let's get into some foreign policy. Apparently, Trump's declaring a total and complete blockade of sanctioned oil tankers in and out of Venezuela. He issued a post on Truth Social where he declared a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers, which I think this is the one that they're referring to right here. It says, Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. It will only get bigger, and the shock to them will be like nothing they have ever seen before. Until such time as they return to the United States of America, all of the oil, land, and other assets that they previously stole from us, which is a very odd way to frame this situation, as if somehow any of this is our shit. The illegitimate Maduro regime is using oil from these stolen oil fields to finance themselves drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping. For the theft of our assets and many other reasons, including terrorism, drug smuggling, and human trafficking, the Venezuelan regime has been designated a foreign terrorist organization. Therefore, today I'm ordering a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. The illegal aliens and criminals that the Maduro regime has sent into the United States during the weak and inept Biden administration are being returned to Venezuela at a rapid pace. America will not allow criminals, terrorists, or other countries to rob, threaten, or harm our nation, and likewise, it will not allow a hostile regime to take our oil, land, or any other assets, all of which must be returned to the United States immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. And continuing on with this, is the president said the blockade, an action that's generally considered an act of war under international law, will continue until Venezuela returns its own oil and land to the U.S., underscoring that Venezuela's vast oil reserves, the largest in the world, are a primary motive in Trump's effort at regime change. Until such time as they return, okay, never mind, they already said that. The president appears to be referring to the nationalization of oil project under Hugo Chavez, Maduro's predecessor, who forced foreign-run projects to be converted into joint ventures in which Venezuela's state oil company, PDVSA, held the majority stake. Now, I guess to be fair, from like a theory perspective, to some degree, I kind of sympathize with what Trump is saying, because I'm obviously not a commie, I'm not a socialist. I don't agree with nationalizing any products, the idea of like, this is ours now as a nation. So I do actually technically think it was improper for somebody like a Hugo Chavez to nationalize oil and to essentially force out all the private industries. But apparently it was like there was a deal. So it said it forced foreign-run projects to be converted to joint ventures in which the Venezuela's oil company held the majority stake. So they still had an option, to be fair. So these foreign, particularly in this situation, they're talking about probably United States oil companies. They had the option to have a way to be able to continue working there. Obviously, they would have to change the terms, take a different cut. So I kind of get why maybe they wouldn't want to do that. Some did, like particularly Chevron actually took the deal. So it's not as quite clear cut. But at the same time, it's also just because Maduro allows essentially used force to kick out other private entities when I don't feel like it's proper. Really, it should be whoever owns the land or whatever, whoever has the best claim to it, yada, yada, yada. Not trying to get into private property, type theory. But yes, I don't think the state had the right to do that. But on the inverse, the United States does not have the right to go, that's ours, we're taking it back. I don't think these two things necessarily follow. A little weird. But yeah, he also claimed that Maduro's government was a foreign terrorist organization, referring to his administration designating a non-existent cartel called the Cartel of the Suns as an FTO and claiming Maduro is its leader. We've covered this plenty on this show. And then they've also blown up 3 more boats in the Eastern Pacific, so that's great. That's wonderful. More murder on the high seas. And with all this going on, which this will be actually our first topic of the day when we get out of foreign policy, but this is one of the many, many things that the Chief of Staff, Susie Wile'n Out about. She apparently suggests regime change in Venezuela is the real goal of the boat strikes, which no one's surprised here, but they've been doing all these weird weird auspices of like, oh, well, it's because he's a commie, it's because drugs, it's because whatever. Well, now here we are with the literal chief of staff saying, nope, it's for regime change. So Susie Wile'n has suggested that the goal of the U.S. bombing campaign is the ouster of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, according to a two-part report published by Vanity Fair on Tuesday. Wiles discussed President Trump's Venezuela strategy in an interview with Vanity Fair reporter Chris Whipple on November 2nd. He wants to keep blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle. And people way smarter than me on that says that he will, which is funny. How many times do we always hear that, oh, people smarter than me? What that means is the CIA is probably telling them shit. Where anyone, you don't have to be that smart to, look at history and all of the regime change operations that we've ever done and go, I don't think this is going to work out well. But while Trump and his top officials have been clear about their desire for regime change in Venezuela, they have framed the bombing campaign against boats as an effort to stop drug shipments to the U.S. Wile's comments suggest that the campaign's real purpose, at least at the start, is to pressure Maduro. So, I mean, there'll be more. Here we go. It says, the president believes in harsher penalties for drug dealers. As he said many, many times, these are not fishing boats, as some would like to allege. So she did sort of also be like, oh, these are drug boats or whatever. So she's still kind of leaning into it. But she also points to President Trump's false claim that for each boat the U.S. blows up, 25,000 American lives are saved. The president says 25,000. I don't know what the number is, but he views those as lives saved, not people killed. So there is a little bit of a double-edged sword to this where, yeah, she is like, oh, he's just doing this crazy shit. Whipple pointed out that drug smuggling is not a death penalty offense in the U.S. She says, no, it's not. I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying this is a war on drugs. It's unlike another one that we've seen, but that's what it is. She's kind of playing a little bit both sides, but let's keep moving. After 3 Americans are killed in Syria, Trump says, we have legitimate peace in the Middle East. So thankful, maybe we should get that other 4 years, because Trump's he got peace in the Middle East. Isn't that wonderful? Everything's going swimmingly over there. He said on Monday there's legitimate peace in the Middle East for the first time in 3,000 years. He made the remark when asked why the U.S. has troops in Syria, which keep in mind we just literally had an attack the other day. It was the second segment of yesterday's show. So crazy about this whole peace thing. It says, because we're trying to make sure that there's going to be and remain peace in the Middle East, and Syria is a big part of it. The new leader's a strong person. That's what you need. I'm referring to Shara, who used to work for Al-Qaeda. So it's been amazing what's taken place in Syria. We got rid of Assad, Trump said, acknowledging a U.S. role in the regime change that put Shara's group of jihadists, known as the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, in power. The 3 Americans that killed on Saturday were killed on Saturday by a member of Syria's security forces. They said it was ISIS, but either way, it was a member of ISIS working for the Syrian security forces. So. Which kind of is the whole point. It's funny they're saying peace in the Middle East, and he's even literally referring to ousting Assad. Well, we covered in this show, in the immediate aftermath of Assad, we had crazy sectarian violence. They were just straight up summarily executing all sorts of people near the border. This is actually what became the impetus for Israel to be able to flex a little bit and take some of that land and push them back a little bit and go, this is ours now. So... isn't that great? So we got rid of other people that were really bad people and that were in the way of peace in the Middle East. We have legitimate peace in the Middle East. First time in 3,000 years, and we have 59 countries backing it. And we'll see what happens with Hamas, Trump said, referring to the Gaza ceasefire deal, which Israel has continued to violate by killing nearly 400 Palestinians since it went into effect. It's also continued to violate a ceasefire deal in Lebanon, signed in November 2024 with near daily strikes, surveillance flights, and ground incursions. Hezbollah in Lebanon has been a problem. We'll see what happens there, Trump said. The president appears to be arguing that it was necessary for the U.S. to be involved in the Middle East to maintain peace, and also referencing the 12-day U.S.-Israel war on Iran, which killed over 1,000 Iranians as an example of U.S. action in the region. If we didn't knock out their nuclear capability, we would have never had peace, he said. So thankfully we did that because we have peace now. Isn't that great? And to continue building peace, I guess we're going to build a U.S. military base in Gaza. And it's a friend of Trump that's going to get hooked up with it, apparently. So a friend of Trump who owns a U.S. construction firm is seeking to be involved in the building of a potential U.S. military base in southern Israel that could cost $600 million, according to a report in the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. Israeli media first reported last month on the plans for the U.S. to build a base on the Gaza border that would house thousands of U.S. and international troops tasked with maintaining the Gaza cease. At this point, I think maybe ceasefire is what it means. At this point, it's unclear if what's being called the International Stabilization Force will come together, since countries are hesitant to commit troops over concerns they may end up fighting Hamas on behalf of Israel. But the Haaretz report suggests steps are being taken inside Israel to prepare for the construction of the base. The report said the U.S. base is expected to generate revenues worth billions of shekels for whoever builds it, and that there are already parties positioning themselves to profit from it, including the Disaster Management Group, a Florida-based firm that specializes in the construction and operation of temporary facilities. This is owned by Nathan Albers, who is close to Trump and a frequent visitor of the Mar-a-Lago resort. Haaretz said that the Haaretz report said an official in Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs approached the Israel Land Authority to arrange a meeting between senior ILA officials and DMG representatives. So the meeting was scheduled for December 8th, and a jet registered in Albers' name landed in Israel that day on a direct flight from Miami and left 2 days later. Albers' company has benefited from other Trump administration policies and is involved in a $1.3 billion project to build a major tent city detention center for migrants in Texas. The potential U.S. base in Israel is expected to be very large. Israeli figures involved in food imports have already been contacted by representatives of American companies regarding the feasibility and cost of feeding 1,000 soldiers who would be permanently stationed at the base. The report also suggested it would be possible the base could actually be built inside Gaza. Remember, we talked a little bit yesterday about how they divvy up, and I think when they mean inside Gaza, it's already kind of confusing, because from my understanding, Israel's already taken to basically roughly, give or take, half of Gaza. They keep moving the yellow line back as well. And then we have this other side that's like the Gaza side of Gaza, and which I think is supposed to be the U.S.-controlled side. And yeah, that's what looks like. We might be building a base there, so that's great. Just further occupying the area, pushing them out. So yeah. The approach to the ILA underscores the broader question that would arise if a decision is made to move forward with the base, whether it would be built within Israel's sovereign territory or inside the Gaza Strip beyond the yellow line under IDF control, the report said. So definitely leaves a lot to be concerned about, but another thing to be concerned about is it looks like Ukraine might get everything they wanted out of all of this. For those who have paid attention to the Russia-Ukraine ordeal over the years, I mean, this likely, or at least one of the main culprits of starting this all was us getting super friendly with Ukraine, teasing the idea of NATO, getting in NATO, sort of Article 5 type stuff, war guarantees. And I guess looks like they might end up getting that. So the Polish Prime Minister, Donald Tusk, which said on Tuesday that during Trump's with Ukraine on a potential peace deal, U.S. officials vowed that the U.S. would be willing to take military action against Russia if it violates a future ceasefire, a commitment that would risk nuclear war. This is for the first time I heard from the mouths of American negotiators that America will be involved in security guarantees for Ukraine in such a way that the Russians would have no doubt that in the event of a ceasefire violation, the American response will be military if the Russians attack Ukraine again. Tusk said as he was leaving Germany, according to the Anadolu agency. His comments come after U.S., European, and Ukrainian officials held talks in Berlin, and U.S. officials said that Washington was offering Ukraine a NATO Article 5 style security guarantee, referring to the part of the alliance's treaty that declares an attack on one member is an attack against them all. Russia would almost certainly reject such an arrangement, and the U.S.'s willingness to provide such a guarantee makes a peace deal very unlikely. What is a breakthrough, by no means a guarantee of success, is the fact that perhaps for the first time it was so clearly visible that Americans, Europeans, and Ukrainians are on the same side. So hopefully we'll get some statements from the U.S. saying otherwise here soon, because that is definitely concerning. But let's pop in the chat, check in on you guys, and then we'll get into the first main topic of the day. We'll talk about Susie Wile'n Out. So let's check in the chat, see what you guys got to say. No, Chris Knowles on THC is what Black Eye was talking about, not Michael Knowles. Okay. I guess Marty McFly is saying, I guess years ago, he was big years ago, basically disappeared, referring to Nick. Has great takes and conspiracies going mainstream. Nick is onto something. Just back doing interviews after years away. Okay, maybe I'll have to get him on the show. I'll have to hit him up. So he seems like an interesting guy. I find him. He's been digging into like kind of the occult and how how that applies to a lot of the weird big stuff like Epstein and Project Monarch and yada yada yada. So I don't know. I might have to hit him up. I might have to hit him up. Boomer Slayer saying he's just a normal guy. Cool. Smarty's giving THC to the higher side chat some ups here. Says totally worth it. 10 years of archive episodes, subbing there. I don't know if I've ever watched theirs. I've heard good things though. So maybe one of these days I'll have to check them out. Let me see. See if there's anything else in here. Black Eye says Australia has a public, private, good in theory, but private health isn't truly subject to market horse. Oh, you guys are talking about health insurance in the chat for some reason. Oh, Rockbiz, I guess when he was talking about the J-Lo voice, he was talking about Miriam Adelson. Sounds like Cartman doing J-Lo. She kind of does, doesn't she? A little bit, yeah. Shadows in the Cornfield says what intel agencies call intelligence failures are really intelligence successes. Yep, you're not wrong. Yep. So they effectively tricked them. When they get what they want and they convince you it's a mistake, that's a success. Yep, smarter people than me. Gotchis is reminding us that Trump decided drugs are WMD now. Yeah, we covered that the other day, which is obviously concerning. They've got WMDs, takes on a whole new meaning. So Boomer Slayer, they says they don't understand the things I want for Christmas. All my brothers jolly. Brother, Merry Christmas. Brother, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Boomer Slayer. I hope you guys all have a good Christmas. Obviously, next week will probably be weird with Christmas. We'll see what days I end up pulling these. Be weird to do a dump on Christmas, so probably won't do that for sure. Drugs have moved from financing to weaponry, says Black Eye. He's saying it's kind of both. The revenge for the opium war thing is real. I think you're kind of saying both, and that like they are kind of WMDs. There's definitely an argument for them being WMDs in the sense that like, yeah, I do think other countries use them in that sense, but I mean, it's also they've got plausible deniability there. So, Qbert says we have to stop drugs from coming into the country. They're taking out of our own pocket. We want the monopoly on all drugs sold in the U.S. through our CIA drug lab / distribution center. Yep. All right, let's get into the first story of the day. First topic. Let's watch this. This is a little video kind of covering the Susie Wile's just dropping everything, which I know we talked a little bit yesterday about the whole sources say nonsense, particularly in regards to the Israeli-U.S. relation, and kind of how we always see anytime Israel be fucking up, we hear all these, sources say they're super mad. Behind the scenes, they're like fucking duking it out. Now, I'm not saying I necessarily completely buy that, but this is interesting. I think the Susie Wile's thing, you need to know this bitch worked for Netanyahu. She literally worked on the campaign for Netanyahu, and I want to say it was his previous election or something like that. So this bitch, her going hard like this, and then you'll also see, we'll cover a little bit of the aftermath. I think that's something to think about. Now, I don't know what that means, if this is like a shot across the bow from somebody being like, yo, shut the fuck up. Is this Netanyahu, or is this Israel putting the death blow in it? Is it just some old lady just blowing off steam? I have no idea. But I do think it's at least worthwhile keeping that in mind, that perhaps her allegiances aren't as much to Trump as they might be to something else. So let's watch this. Now, audio's out. My bad. Give me a second. Of course, StreamYard did its thing. It do be glitching out. Give me a second. I'll bring it back up. Here we go. All right. We're back.
Susie Wile's tells Whipple this: some clinical psychologist that knows 1 million times more than I do will dispute what I'm going to say, but high-functioning alcoholics, or alcoholics in general, their personalities are exaggerated when they drink. And so I'm a little bit of an expert in big personalities. Wile said Trump has, quote, an alcoholic's personality. He, quote, operates with the view that there's nothing he can't do, nothing, zero, nothing, end quote. J.D. Vance, who she describes like this, quote, he's been a conspiracy theorist for a decade, end quote. As for how J.D. Vance traveled from the belief that he said publicly that Trump might be, quote, America's Hitler, or, quote, a cynical a-hole like Nixon, not to mention an idiot, to now serving as his vice president, Susie Wile's offers this explanation, quote, his conversion came when he was running for the Senate, and I think his conversion was a little bit more sort of political, end quote. As for Russ Vogt, the architect of Project 2025 and the director of the Office of Management and Budget, he's a, quote, right-wing absolute zealot, end quote. Regarding Elon Musk, who took chainsaw to the federal government, Susie Wile'n says this, quote, he's an avowed ketamine user, and he sleeps in a sleeping bag in the OEOB in the daytime. And he's an odd duck, as I think geniuses are. You know, it's not helpful, but he is his own person, end quote. Journalist Chris Whipple adding this, quote, when I asked her, Susie Wile'n, what she thought of Elon Musk reposting a tweet about public sector workers killing millions under Hitler, Stalin, and Mao, she replied, quote, I think that's when he's microdosing, end quote. The White House chief
That's going to be that's what we should do. Anytime we go crazy, whenever we go max anti-Semitism, we should, I was microdosing. Just disregard all the Hitler posting.
Staff describing the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, the person atop the nuclear command structure, as someone with an alcoholic's personality, that the Vice President is simply there for politics, that he's an unprincipled conspiracy theorist and has been for a decade. That is not normal. Susie Wile'n, his chief of staff, is his chief enabler. Bounds telling Vanity Fair this, quote, her job is to actually facilitate Trump's vision and to make his vision come to life, end quote. Wile's actually is blowing Trump's cover. Here's what she says about Trump's campaign to prosecute his political enemies. Back in March, I'd asked Wile's, quote, do you ever go to Trump and say, look, this is not supposed to be a retribution tour? Yes, I do, Susie Wile's replied. We have a loose agreement that the score settling will end before the first 90 days are over. In late August, I asked Susie Wile's, quote, remember when you said to me months ago that Trump promised to end the revenge and retribution tour after 90 days? Quote, I don't think he's on a retribution tour, she said. A governing principle for him is, I don't want what happened to me to happen to anybody else. And so people that have done bad things need to get out of government. In some cases, it may look like retribution, and there may be an element of that from time to time. Who would blame him? Not me. But regarding the Tish James case, Susie Wile's admits this, quote, well, that might be the one retribution. And on the Comey case, Susie Wile'n says, quote, I mean, people could think it does look vindictive. I can't tell you why you should not think that. Susie Wile'n said of Trump, quote, I don't think he wakes up thinking about retribution, but when there's an opportunity, he will go for it, end quote. In a statement, the White House stood by Susie Wile's today. She released her own statement on X saying that the article was a, quote, hit piece and that it was missing context. Okay, they're literally all her quotes.
All right, well, that lady was kind of boring, but thanks for that recap, lady. Let's check in on this. Here's a little bit of a bullet point recap of some of the stuff she went over, which I think is worthwhile telling you all about. We have that Trump and his Justice Department's critical prosecutions of his political adversaries was disingenuous score settling, and that she unsuccessfully tried to get him to knock it off after those efforts failed. Also, she said that I don't think Trump wakes up thinking about retribution, but when there's an opportunity, he will go for it. So we have seen some of these weird legal things, particularly like things with like Comey and some of the other people, which is like, it's all been kind of pathetic nonsense, especially when you get into the weeds and the minutia of some of the stuff, it gets even more pathetic. I mean, a lot of these are people that I'm like, yeah, they should probably be in jail and they should probably be prosecuted for something, but then the Trump administration will go after them for something incredibly petty that they almost certainly aren't going to get them for anyways. And so it literally is, ironically, legal warfare, the same thing they were complaining about with Trump. She said that Trump has an alcoholic's personality in the sense that he was raised by one, and that high-functioning alcoholics or alcoholics in general, their personalities are exaggerated when they drink. Trump thus believes that there's nothing he can't do, nothing. Now, I know a lot of people point at that and go, that's weird. That is weird. I mean, that's a weird way to... I mean, I get what she means and the idea of, like, the liquid courage. He's kind of, like, he'll do whatever. He doesn't give a shit. I still feel like that's a weird way to describe it. I would assume, I mean, maybe... I mean, I have a feeling. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know what the angle here is there, but that feels like something to perhaps intentionally piss off Trump. Because, I mean, from my understanding, he's never drank a drop, is what they always say. I don't know how to what degree that's true or whatever. But I think it was his like brother died from like over like something alcohol related or something. So he's kind of been against it. So if anything, that might be a soft spot for him. So if anything, I think like maybe that's just one of those things that like if you are trying to piss off Trump, maybe that's what you do. It's also that she keeps a monitor office which shows a live feed of Trump's Truth Social posts, which whatever. The Attorney General completely whiffed on her Epstein files rollout, so which that's 100% legit, obviously. I mean, characterizing as a whiff is a little silly because I do think I have a strong feeling Wiles wanted her to kind of somehow wave away the whole situation. So her complaint is more that Pan Bomb-D fucked up the hand wave. She also said President J.D. Vance has been a conspiracy theorist for a decade whose alliance with Trump was political. Which, I mean, I don't know what to make of that one. Like, once again, if you're trying to read this as if like there's a reason for this, and I think J.D. Vance is probably the one they want to appoint for the next group. If anything, this almost seems like, I mean, I have no idea, 100% speculation. This is like to sour the Trump name. And for someone like a Susie Wiles, maybe they have cognizance of what they are and how people perceive them. I mean, maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but assuming that somebody like a Wiles and there is like an angle to this and she's aware of how people look at someone like her calling J.D. Vance a conspiracy theorist, if anything, makes people like me kind of warm up to the idea of J.D. Vance. So who knows, maybe behind closed doors, J.D. Vance is actually not PR Teal's butt boy or whatever, and he's actually a real boy to some degree. And maybe he is actually a good choice for, kind of a future leader, comparatively speaking. Obviously, I don't really care for any of them. But I'm going to put a big old doubt on this because I have no idea. This is how you always got to keep in mind, can I take this at face value? Is this a dialectical trick being played on me? Because you got to think, like, assuming this is all legit, what to think. Assuming this is all a put on, what does this mean? So I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll figure out more as time goes on. But either way, this is odd, and this is a break from tradition for sure. And then also the budget director, Russ Vought, is a right-wing absolute zealot, and that she was aghast over odd duck and avowed ketamine user Elon Musk's often irrational antics. So really, all in all, nothing all that crazy. It's more just the insane, like, over-the-top. Like, you don't ever see this from a chief of staff. And it is like, there really is almost nobody better to really kind of, if you're looking for a first-hand testimony of malfeasance or something, there's really almost no better person in the Trump administration than the literal chief of staff. So kind of wild. I mean, she's the one saying that, like, oh, they're clearly just trying to twist Maduro's arm. This is totally about regime change. She's out there saying they fucked up the Epstein files, that J.D. Vance is conspiracy theorist. She's saying Elon's on drugs, which, I mean, most of these are unsubstantive nonsense. But then also stuff that, like, Trump is totally using the political side of things is legal warfare. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's an effort to get Trump to cut that shit out because he knows he's not going to. I mean, what are the chances he actually sees any sort of backlash for this? I don't know. But at the same time, maybe, because now you have the chief of staff on record saying these things. So once these midterms come in place and likely we get that blue sweep, I don't know. There could be some people sitting in some hot seats here soon with some of the shit she just said. And any sort of legal prosecution they're angling for is almost certainly likely to fall through with this stuff on the record. Well, despite all that, we have all the powers that be still sucking her lady dick, which even more to my point of what the fuck is going on here. So the White House had all the cabinet members simultaneously put out statements supporting Susie Wiles after the Vanity Fair article came out. I mean, we got Secretary Doug Burgum, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Secretary Chris Wright, we have Secretary Linda McMahon, that's Education Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer, Kash Patel, Scott Turner, Secretary Brooke Rowland, Sean Duffy, Carolyn Leavitt, Russ Vought, Lee Zeldin, Kelly Loeffler. To be honest, most of these people I don't even know, but these are all different secretaries, and they all kind of came out with similar stuff. Let's see what Leavitt had to say. So Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has helped President Trump achieve the most successful 11 months in office of any president in American history. President Trump has no greater or more loyal advisor than Susie. The entire administration is grateful for her steady leadership and united fully behind her. Feels weird. Let's check in. Who else do we want to hear from? Who do we care? Let me see. Let's do Linda McMahon. That's fun. Get a little kayfabe in here. I mean, no more person appropriate than to check in on when we have these sort of administration drama than a literal person who made their millions and millions off of literal kayfabe. Linda McMahon. Look her up. Susie is a force of nature, the shrewdest and most loyal chief of staff. I had the privilege of serving with her on the transition. Her judgment and steady leadership is defining one of the most historic first years of any administration. We have Kash Patel saying fake news comes after you when you're effective. There's nobody in Donald Trump's team more effective than Susie Wiles. And let's finish up with Scott Bessent. Said 2025 has been a year of historic achievement by POTUS for the American people, and Wile's unwavering leadership has led the way. Susie is an exceptional chief of staff, and her tireless dedication, loyalty, and commitment to the president are beyond reproach. Powerful leadership often works quietly, never seeking credit, and always relentlessly driving results. Our chief exemplifies that. And then we have Susie. What did she have to say for herself? She says, the article published early this morning is a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House staff, and cabinet in history. Significant context was disregarded, and much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. I assume after reading it, and that this was done to paint over an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team. The truth is the Trump White House has already accomplished more in 11 months than any other president has accomplished in 8 years, and that is due to the unmatched leadership and vision of President Trump, for whom I have been honored to work for the better part of a decade. None of this will stop the relentless pursuit of making America great again. Isn't that wonderful? I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think about this. Let's roll through the chat, and then we'll get into our next topic, false flag antisemitism, which is probably going to be a little bit of a bigger segment. I know this one was short, but the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So let's check in on you guys. Let me see. Cubert says this old whore is strung out on pills. I don't know if you're talking about the lady that was just reading that sounded really, just read it like this, and this is what Susie Wile'n said, and this is absolutely crazy. Maybe that's who you're talking about. Yeah, she sounds like she's on SRIs. Yeah, let me see. What else we got? Pseudo-scientific quackery, says Wise Elk. Trump is just an ordinary, egocentric asshole. Perhaps. Says she is stupid. Papers do not make you smart. Aggressively agreeing, says, as an alcoholic, I vehemently disagree with the diagnosis. I barely seek retribution against my dissenters unless I've had Malort. So Shadow says Trump obviously doesn't mind being compared to an alcoholic. Yeah, I mean, it seems that way. I mean, it seems like an odd thing to say, though, unless you're angling for a reaction for Trump. I don't know. Weird. Black Eye says, at least Musk is dropping hints about the disaster cycle. No other leads have thrown us a bone like that. Well, that's because he was microdosing, Black Eye. Don't read too much into that. He was microdosing. Shadow says, he's lambasted people for much less than this. Obviously, Susie has some protection. Yeah, I know, right? Feels weird, doesn't it? It feels very odd. I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I'm not going to go full schizo and say it's 100% some Israeli op to signal to do something. Who knows? Maybe she just talked out of turn and said some shit she shouldn't, and they maybe spun them in certain ways. But from my understanding, these are like direct quotes. All right, let's get into false flag anti-Semitism. But first off, let's check in on Kash Patel's girlfriend. She's going to let us know, is she or is she not is she or is she not a Mossad agent? Let's see what she has to say. God dang it. Sorry, of course my thing glitched up. Give me a second. Stupid StreamYard. All right, here we go. We are back. All right, let's see what Katie Miller, which is Stephen Miller's wife, which is another cabinet member, we'll see what she has to say, because she's kind of the administration's podcast. Let's see what what her and Kash Patel and Alexis Wilkins have to say, because this is a thing we do in a respectable society. Interview people's girlfriends. So let's see. I don't know. It just seems so gay. Be a grown-up and get married, or stop fucking bringing her, doing it. Stop even mentioning her. Even if it's your wife, this would be weird to do with a wife. I'm sorry. This is odd. Let's watch this.
So I just want to clarify. You're not Jewish.
I'm not.
You are not from Israel.
No.
So how did we get to, are you a Mossad agent?
You know, that's a great question. I too have that question for the internet, actually. You and me both. No, I'm not sure. I'm not Jewish. I'm Christian. I'm Armenian. So, I'm not really sure how we got there. I've never been to Israel. I'd love to go. It's just, the stamp isn't even on my passport, and I'm just as confused as everyone else is.
Because the internet, to this point, of the personal attacks on you and your relationship are not only from the far left, but are from the far right as well. And how have you dealt with those attacks? Do you let it, are those things you guys discuss? Do you let it roll off your sleeve? Do you not read it? I think there's a lot of people out there, especially young women, who are attacked in other ways, from their friends, from their groups. And that's something we all struggle with, right, is how to handle that. And so going through what I think is a very public version of that, I'd love to know how you deal with this.
I think that it's very important to first and foremost remember that the people who actually love you, my boyfriend, my family, those are the people who their opinions matter. And then everything else kind of splinters off from that, and you can decide how much value you want to place on other people's opinion. I also understand that there's a benefit in whatever media spin, whatever side is choosing to make. If this side wants to say, I'm a spy, it's because they're trying to attack him through me. If the far left is trying to spin me as a party girl, it's because it's, first of all, hilariously untrue, and also because they want to get to him. So I try not to take it personally. Of course, it affects, your headspace, it affects your work, it affects aspects of your life. I can't pretend it doesn't. It's horrible. But I think remembering that the opinions of the people who actually love you and know you are what matter the most.
All right, let's see how this all started. For those who recall, here's Bolton Booty saying "my influence," which is I think he's correct. This seems to be where it all started. I follow all the movers and shakers here over on No Way Jose podcast. We just had Dana on last night, who I think legitimately may have shifted to the changing of the narratives. I really am of the vibe that the play that was being rolled out was Candace going full Alex Jones, Sandy Hook. Making a topic for Bolton. Not that I really even care that if anyone wants to say it didn't happen, but I know how the game here, you go, oh my God, she's questioning the widow, and oh no, we can't do this, and now we can't talk about it. Well, that got snuffed out. I think it's due to the digging of people like Dana Duda, who find shit like her dad was literally managing the contracts of Sandy Hook during the Sandy Hook event. So, and apparently even the people in her comments have been calling this out for a while, dropping mad super chats, and still no dig into that, which I guess we'll probably get a little bit of that in our last segment, but worthwhile. I just want to point it out. These the people I follow, they be doing some wild shit. These are the people we cover in the show, the movers and shakers. But here's Booty pointing out how we started. Most people may think, oh, this is Kyle Seraphin who went with this. No, Kyle Seraphin who took it and added a glow to it. That's what he did. He made it super duper glowy and made it this weird, stupid thing that it became. This, of course, the original point had nothing to do with Mossad and was heavily distorted by an FBI agent podcaster, so the denial here is irrelevant. The FBI podcaster he's referring to is Kyle Seraphin, and this is what he had said originally, and then it got conflated because people are either retarded or working for the state still. We have Booty saying our new FBI director's girlfriend works for an Israeli intelligence front. And so what he's referring to here is his old tweet, is Alexis Wilkins, PragerU contributor. The PragerU thing is what he's pointing at. And then he goes, then he shows another old tweet of his, is PragerU CEO of Marissa Straight. So this is what some people conflated Marissa Straight with Alexis Wilkins. Marissa Straight was Alexis Wilkins' boss, although she kind of I didn't work for them, I contract from that's working for someone. But yeah, she's IDF intelligence. When Dennis Prager visited Israel, he was recruited to go to the USSR and covertly pass info to and from Jewish dissidents. PragerU's first video was a history of Israel funded by Adam Milstein, who also funds Hasbro fellowships. So yeah, this is how this all started, saying she worked for an Israeli front, not that she was a Mossad agent. That would actually be true of Marissa Straight, although even though maybe not technically Mossad, it might be some other agency. And then here's what we're talking about here with the FBI podcaster. Booty says an FBI agent podcaster explicitly and incorrectly said Kash Patel's girlfriend is a former Mossad agent, so she is suing him for defamation. This is clearly being orchestrated to discredit the correct observation that Ms. Wilkins did indeed work for an Israeli intelligence cutout. Now, I don't know, you also could accept that he's retarded. I know that's what our friend of the show, Ken Silva, is actually more of the belief that, yeah, perhaps he's just fucking stupid, which I could genuinely believe both. Although, I don't know, I think that dude glows. But, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I know I've brought up many times the whole pipe bomb thing and how much all that shit glows, how he was dropping those trust me bros that didn't really seem to quite pan out like people think they do. But moving on, Alexis Wilkins mentioned something about being a party girl. So let's check this out. Here's new reporting that Kash Patel ordered FBI security to escort his girlfriend and her drunk friends home from bars in Nashville on multiple occasions. So I imagine that on this day they would take Kash home. Here's Kash at a press briefing. Let's see how goofy he looks here. It's always fun to check him out.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of depth. I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my
All right, there's no substance to there, but whatever. It's just him looking goofy. But yeah, there's AF post saying FBI Director Kash Patel ordered agents to drive his girlfriend's ex's Lexus Wilkins' intoxicated friend home on at least 2 occasions. In one instance, Patel called the head of Wilkins' security detail and yelled at him to carry out the request on behalf of his girlfriend. What a beautiful couple. I'm just kidding. She's a weird face. Something's odd about her. But moving on, we got more false flag anti-Semitism for you. Apparently the FBI has got somebody. They got him. Let's check in on, I guess, like a far left terror group. Let's see what this guy has to say. Let's check him out. This Mr. FBI agent guy. Let's check it out. Let's see. Oh my God, what is going on with StreamYard today? Give me a second. I got to bring it back up. I don't know what is going on. It's super fucking glitchy. Give me a second. Let me bring it back up. It keeps fucking just kicking out the screen. Here we go. I am back. All right, there we go. Let's play this now.
On December 12th, a group of individuals, again, members of this anti-government group, traveled out to the desert to test their explosive devices. They had precursor chemicals there, and they were going to create these bombs in the desert. What they are starting to do is put their chemicals and wares and the components out on the table there. This footage that you're watching is from our surveillance plane, and then what happened after this is the Los Angeles FBI SWAT team, along with the FBI's hostage rescue team, moved in and arrested all 4 subjects without incident.
Out there in the desert making explosives. Man, everything always comes back to McVeigh, doesn't it? Always comes back to McVeigh. Always comes back to him. And there'll be more that comes back to him later, but there's another him that you should focus on. Look at this guy. Do you recognize this guy? Well, that's funny. We've actually covered a story he was in a while back. Let's see if it jogs your memory, and I'll read the caption. Let's see if you guys remember this guy. Let's play this.
Combing through right now is kind of what led us to that nihilist belief.
Breaking News Channel 3. We had a reporter on scene at the Twin Nine Palms area yesterday, and community members were telling her that there was an FBI presence there in the days leading up to that. Can you confirm that?
I cannot.
Okay, folks, that concludes this press conference. We're done, folks.
Okay,
done.
guys. Thanks
done.
a lot.
Thank you very much for
Appreciate
coming here.
Got the old shut it down. Well, this is the this was a while back. This was back in May. Man, that's 6 months ago. I remember covering that on this very show. He says, Ken says, I knew this guy looked familiar. He's the same FBI official who was asked about agents being at a suspect's house days before a Palm Springs fertility clinic bombing in May. The press conference was shut down right after that question. The old shut it down. It never fails. Well, let's check in. Let's see what Kash Patel had to say about this. Let's see. He said, over the weekend, the FBI disrupted a credible imminent terrorist threat and arrested 4 individuals connected to the Los Angeles area. The subjects self-identified as members of a radical offshoot of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, the TILF. What do you call a TILF? What is a TILF? I don't know, whatever. I was trying to think of something funny there. An extremist group motivated by pro-Palestinian, anti-law enforcement, and anti-government ideology. They were allegedly planning coordinated IED bombing attacks on New Year's Eve, targeting 5 separate locations across Los Angeles. In the days since, FBI New Orleans arrested an additional 5th individual believed to be linked to this radical TILF subgroup, also allegedly planning a separate violent attack. This is outstanding work for investigators and law enforcement partners in the Justice Department. Their work undoubtedly saved countless lives. The FBI of Los Angeles will hold a press conference later today to share additional details. Well, here's our boy Ken digging into this. He says, one of the defendants allegedly provided an FBI informant with an 8-page document describing the bomb plot in this case. Totally normal thing people do, right? The informant had been working for the Bureau since 2021. No criminal record, meaning the person is a paid operative. This guy is getting paid. Now, here's a summary of the probable cause he's pulling from. It says, in late November 2025, Carroll, a member of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, provided a confidential human source an 8-page handwritten document titled Operation Midnight Sun that described a bombing plot. For real, they even called it an operation. All right, whatever. Another TILF member known as AK, who was later identified as Paige, was also present during the meeting. Specifically, the plan contemplated planting backpacks with IEDs or improvised explosive devices to be simultaneously detonated at 5 locations targeting 2 U.S. companies at midnight on New Year's Eve 2025 in the Central District of California. The handwritten plans say the IEDs would be complex pipe bombs, included instructions on how to manufacture the bombs, and include guidance to avoid leaving evidence behind that could be traced back to the co-conspirators. And there's a little subnote at the bottom that says CHS is cooperating with law enforcement is a validated and vetted source. The CHS has been a reliable source of information since in or around August 2021. The CHS is cooperating for financial compensation. They even said that. The CHS does not have any criminal history. CHS provided past reliable reporting in other cases and has provided reliable reporting in this case. So this is a frequently used informant, clearly. They've used this guy multiple times, and somehow he's mixing this and doesn't have a criminal record. Looks a little shady. And even more so, it says, looks like the defendants in this case may not have had the capacity to pull off the New Year's Eve attack that they were allegedly planning. It says, I have the basics down, but building circuits is beyond me, which is needed for a digital timer, one of the defendants said 5 days ago. So they don't seem like they have the ability to do that. And then moving on to another op that clearly was misconstrued as being something it wasn't in advantage of a certain group, a certain country, a certain people. Here's Radix Varing saying more lies on the DOJ and FBI, referring to Ken Silva's update in the Iran plot against Trump, saying new filings show the defendant was under investigation before he entered the U.S. This is significant because the DOJ has been saying that he pitched the plot to someone who reported him to the FBI and became an informant. So this guy, which many of you guys don't remember, this is one of the this is the one they refer to, try to be like, oh, Iran's trying to kill him, some vaguely, oh, there was an Iran thing, and then they kind of loosely connected that to some of the other ones, and so we kind of hand wave, oh yes, sort of Iranian something or other. This is the where you get the tiny little infinitesimal grain of truth, and even then it's not really. Because this is what they essentially use as precedent to be like, oh, there's an Iranian thing, but we've sealed all the records. We've made it so nobody can know anything, but just know that there's a word Iran in there somewhere. So totally all these other ones you can kind of wink and a nod. Maybe that was Iran too. Well, here's the filing. It says, Dear Judge Committee, we represent defendant Asif Merchant in the above referenced matter. We write pursuant to the court's November 12, 2025 order directing counsel to confer with the government regarding their discovery concerns and advise the court within 21 days whether court intervention is necessary. On Tuesday, November 25th, the parties met and conferred by telephone. The parties were unable, however, to resolve a dispute over the scope of the government's production of Mr. Merchant's communications that were intercepted through electronic surveillance. As discussed more fully below, both FedR Crim 16 and Brady v. Maryland require production of all of Mr. Merchant's intercepted communications rather than the limited recordings selected and produced by the government, because that was a big thing we've been covering this, is they've been doing everything they can to make everything, top secret or whatever the hell, essentially prevent any sort of disclosure. Defendant also objects to the redactions made to a number of documents in the government's October 21st, 2025 production. As a result, defendant believes court intervention is necessary. Now here's the background. Asif Merchant is charged with attempt to commit an act of terrorism transcending national boundaries and murder for hire. He is a Pakistani national who was allegedly recruited by the Iranian government to travel to the United States and recruit one or more hitmen to assassinate high-ranking American officials. Discovery has revealed that Asif was under investigation before he arrived in the U.S., and he was under surveillance from the moment he arrived in this country. In addition, Asif was the subject of electronic surveillance under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. As a result, the government is in possession of his communication, which it obtained through his electronic surveillance. In addition, Asif was also under surveillance by teams of agents. The government produced reports from these surveillance teams which indicate that Asif was constantly speaking on his phone. The government also set up a hidden camera in a hotel room where he stayed for a number of days. But the government doesn't want to release all that stuff, do they? Moving on, in a similar theme, we have, here's Boltzmann Booty again, saying over in Hebrew News, there's a second officially admitted instance of Israeli helicopters hitting Israeli hostages on October 7th. It says the killing of Efrat Katz was the first. In this case, the Israelis weren't killed. There are almost certainly many more examples as admitted by other journalists in Hebrew. So let's check this out. It says on October 7th, a combat helicopter hit a terrorist vehicle that also contained female hostages who were injured in the attack. So a small little admission, but I think it says a lot. It says 3 terrorists were eliminated, but a 4th terrorist who survived transferred the 2 young Israeli women to another vehicle. The 2 who were kidnapped from near Oz were later released in one of the hostage deals. This is the second case since the massacre in which it turns out the IAF aircraft hit the vehicle in which they were being held hostage. So I don't know. You guys get the idea here. They're admitting to a little bit. They're like, oh, we shot at him. Oh, we were shooting at him. We happened to hit some hostages, but we were shooting at a bad guy vehicle. Although, let's be real, we've seen the photos of those vehicles there that just somehow look like they were fucking firebombed. But somehow we're supposed to believe some terrorists with AKs and machetes or maybe some grenades or something were able to do all that. And despite all that, we have Randy Fine talking mad shit over in the halls of Congress. So listen in on this. This is I'm not one to really ever get upset about racism. I like to make lots of jokes about such things, and I'm very much super libertarian in the sense like if you want to be racist, go right ahead. You might even be able to justify it. I don't know. Depends on the race, I guess. Depends on the given circumstance. I don't fucking know. But this is some wild shit. This is Representative Andy Fine. Let's see what he had to say about all Muslims in the United States and what we should do with them.
I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. I think you destroy them first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. I think you destroy them first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Wild thing to say about all Muslims. Says, and this is literally from his thing. This says how to deal with mainstream Muslims. This is from his account, from the Representative Fine account. It says how to deal with mainstream Muslims. I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. I think you destroy them first. He literally says mainstream Muslims, so just your normal Muslim in the United States. Which I don't know. Not that I have like a huge ring of Muslim friends. I've known a couple. None of them really seem to matter. Like actually, funny enough, one of the Muslims I met in the military was a lesbian. Like, I mean, I think it's a little bit more complicated than people like to give it credit for. This idea that like, oh, I mean, don't be wrong. That's obviously not. I'd say that's not kosher for Muslim, the Islam or whatever the hell. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I think she probably wasn't practicing her religion quite correctly. But either way, to my point, it's we're in America, buddy. I think this kind of view is a little bit ridiculous. The idea that mainstream Muslims are seeking out the destruction of everyone. I don't know, with language like that, I kind of almost wouldn't blame them. But despite all this, we have Pam Bonding ordering the FBI to compile a list of Americans who may be extremists. This is from a signed memo that was leaked to Ken Klippenstein, making a list of American extremists. So let's check on this a little bit. Oops, accidentally clicked out of the thing. Give me a second. Let me bring it back up for you guys. It says, here we go. Do I have it? Actually, I don't have it up. Here we go. Now we got it back up. It says Attorney General Pam Bondi is ordering the FBI to compile a list of groups or entities engaging in acts that may constitute domestic terrorism. The target is those expressing opposition to law and immigration enforcement. That's me. Extreme views in favor of mass migration and open borders. I definitely wouldn't say I'm in favor of mass migration. I'd say technically I think open borders is an unfair way of stating it, but technically I guess I'm technically open borders at this point in time, I'd say. Adherence to radical gender ideology, nah, I don't buy that. As well as anti-Americanism, depending on how you define that, you could say that's me. Anti-capitalism, funny enough, I've mentioned this show, I consider myself an agorist, and they actually consider themselves anti-capitalists, although it's a little bit bizarre. They're more speaking in like they're just kind of saying that it's just more of a language semantic thing. Technically, they're like Rothbardian, really. So, point being is you can kind of you can make that case. They're anti-capitalist, anti-Christianity. Wouldn't say I'm that, but people could characterize me as that. This language echoes the so-called indicators of terrorism identified by President Trump's directive, National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, or NSMP 7, which the memo says it's intended to implement. Where NSPM 7 was a declaration of war on just about anyone who is MAGA, this is the war plan for how the government will wage it on a tactical level. In addition to compiling lists of undesirables, Bondi directs the FBI to enhance the capabilities of its tip line in order to more aggressively solicit tips from the American public on, other Americans. To that end, Bondi also directs the FBI to establish a cash reward system for information leading to ID and arrest of leadership figures within these purported domestic terrorist organizations. That's funny. Weren't we just talking about someone who received money for something, kind of a career informant? Interesting. Moving on, here's Ken. Just thought this was kind of in the scope of things. I thought this was interesting. He says he's currently reading a book about his undercover agent who infiltrated the base, which is a terrorist organization. Turns out he was admitted into the group by its founder, Roman Wolf, aka Ronaldo Nazaro, a former FBI and Pentagon contractor who has never been indicted and who now lives in Russia. Pretty convenient. Here is the excerpt for me. He says, I also knew there were a few older members in the group, one in particular, the elusive founder of the base, who went by the online names Norman Spear and Roman Wolf. He was actually the first member I talked to. I found out later Roman Wolf was the one answering my email. Which, funny enough, the base, from my understanding, is it kind of seems like, I guess, the United States version of ISIS, for those who think ISIS is some sort of Mossad type of op. Many conspirators for a long time have pointed to the base as being like, yeah, it supposedly was some sort of terrorist organization that fed a lot from America, so that's why you end up with we got some military members, and oh no, they're picking us off with their extremist ideology. They're getting some of us. When meanwhile, when you kind of analyze it a little bit closer, and you're like, this fucking glows. This glows really fucking hard. Speaking of glowing fucking really hard, let's take a peek in the past at the old extremists of oldie times. Thought this was interesting. This is another from Ken. He says, PatCon, the undercover FBI operation to infiltrate right-wing groups entailed the use of bank accounts, apparently. Here's a documentation, FBI doc. It says, subject, PatCon. This is on 12/3/1990, redacted, meant to consider approval of a group 1 UCO proposal regarding the caption matter. The meeting was attended by the case agent redacted, the UC coordinator redacted, PLA redacted, SSA redacted, SSRA redacted, relief supervisor redacted, ASAC Gonzalez and SAC Wilson. SSRA redacted, along with case agent redacted, presented the proposal to the group. Particular discussion was held regarding the following topics: the undercover scenario, availability of UCAs, adequacy of budgeted funds, letter to the U.S. Attorney, bank account exemptions, and proactive scenarios after UCA acceptance by the group. After discussion of the proposal, the committee voted to recommend that it be approved by SAC Wilson and thereafter be submitted to FBI HQ for approval and funding. Now, bank account exemptions, I find that particularly interesting. Maybe I'm reaching here, but I don't know. I remember a certain group, for those who have dug into Oklahoma City bombing, the ARA, the Aryan Republican Army, that was known for robbing banks. And there's lots of allusions that they may have been a little bit of a Fed cutout group. I believe it was Bob Matthews' handler, who was a PatCon agent, who kind of told all to Jesse Trinidu that he was it Don Jarrett, I think, was his handler. It was Don Jarrett, I think. I might be wrong on the name there, but there's literally an email that I could hunt down for you guys, for those if anyone was interested, where back and forth between him and Bob Matthews and his handler Don Jarrett about kind of talking about these front groups. And I forget what group we're talking about, but they just said, oh yeah, it's kind of like this group. ARA was one of those, right? One of those cutouts. And then Don Jarrett said something like, oh yeah, yes, essentially confirmed it. I forget exactly how he said it, but I also find it interesting, bank account exemptions. Maybe that's a reach, but I find it interesting. I know Ken himself, we've had him on the show, and I think he himself was talking about, it almost seems like these these bank robberies kind of, I don't know, could almost been planned, almost intentional. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. Actually, maybe we won't see. Maybe we'll never find out. But to finish off this segment, I figured we'd pop in on one extremist who was super duper concerned about Zog, and I think it's kind of concerning how it ended up for him. I saw this video. I've been looking for an excuse to play this clip for a while. Here's Randy Weaver talking about what happened at Ruby Ridge. I thought it was particularly an emotionally powerful bit. So let's. I hope you guys agree. Listen to this, and then we'll move on to our next. We'll say hi to the chat and move on to our next segment. Man, I'm not gonna lie. That last second, that like when he like stops to look at the picture, I mean, something about that like fucks me up. Like, I don't know. Just looking at, you almost feel like, I don't know. That's when it becomes real, when he looks at the photo of his son. Where like you can tell he gets a little choked up. There kind of gets me a little choked up, to be honest, just thinking about that. Because I mean, you almost are astounded with how like matter of factly he's able to do that, and like literally before, you almost like he probably thought about just putting it down because he probably didn't want to get emotional. You could just see the emotion in his eye the moment he looked at his son. So. Fucked up stuff. Pretty sad what the state will do with you. Everyone pointed him as a crazy, being super concerned about Zog. Well, it looks like he may have been a little ahead of the curve, given our current climate. Let's roll the chat, checking on you guys, and then we'll get into the last segment, into Candace shutting it down. Here's Marty Mac saying, them parading around asking her these questions for her to then deny makes me way more suspicious that she's actually a Mossad honeypot. Yeah, for sure. Some people saw you in there saying, I saw a couple of you in there saying he doesn't look so lovey-dovey. Yeah, they did seem awkward. Although, to be fair, it is an awkward situation. Ray Can Cap says, FY, the Armenian genocide happened after they killed 500,000 Turks, and the Turks in retaliation killed 2 million Armenians. Well, why can't we all get along? Good morning, This is the way Cash initially laughs at the question looks so scripted and fake. That was a weird reaction, in my opinion. Yeah, it definitely feels weird. Black Eyes is not gonna lie, they could honeypot me with her. Yep. Good morning, Jaquim Carrion. Sent a link on Rumble. Alien Pat Big Cat says Seraphim ain't a real name, for fuck's sake. No way. Shadow says Intel operatives are recruited with money, not ideology, religion, or politics. You are correct. Marmax says, if I were her lawyers, I'd say you need to just let people completely forget about you, but I know people like her can't do that. They want to be center of attention. Wise Elk, we'll see you, bud. Thanks for joining the show. We'll see you next time you come in here. Sneaky Sock says, great wall color. Thank you. Appreciate it. I actually got to paint back there. Eventually, we'll get around to that one. Painting over there in the rooms over there. That's why I got some paint on me right now, for those who can see it. John Black, did I miss anything? Nah, you're good. Good morning, Tower Gang NPC. Good morning. Good morning. Rayan Caps is a reminder that 95% of these bomb plots were created by the FBI. Fact. Good morning, Bobo. Good morning. Good to see you join the chat. Good to see you here. Better late than never. What else we got here? Everyone say hi to Bobo now that he's joined the chat. It says, make sure to hit that like button, says Bobo. Yes, please. Please do. Good morning, PJR. Good to see you here. Let me see. Retardo says the Mussies aren't here to be terrorists. They just want to open vape shops everywhere. Yeah, they just want to see Bob and Jean. They just want to see all those hot ankles those American ladies got. Oh, what? Did I have no audio? Oh, no way. I'm going to play that video again. Because there's no... damn it. I can't believe the audio came out. I'm playing that video again. I don't care. That's a good video. Damn it. Fuck you, StreamYard. God damn it. Fucks up everything. I'm legitimately, it fucking pisses me off. I'm going to go Laura Loomer on their ass. But we're going to play this again real quick. Sorry I subjected you 2 minutes of silence, but we'll play this.
When you have a government that enforces non-law passed by your Congress, you're run by a king, and it usually ends up very tyrannical. This lady here was my wife for almost 20 years. The best mother I knew, the best wife I knew. When they shot my wife through the head, Elizabeth was right here. When I picked her up from underneath my wife's body, she had jawbone, glass from the window pane, and blood all over. I thought she was wounded or dying too. My son Sam, this picture, he was 11 years old. He died 3 years later. U.S. Marshal shot his dog, a yellow Labrador, when the dog was running home. They autopsied the dog. His story was the dog was attacking him. Well, apparently in North Idaho, yellow Labradors, they attacked running backwards because he was shot right up the rear end. It come out his spine here and went through his right ear. Sam said, you shot Stryker, you SOB. I'll give you the exact words. Well, I'm going to abbreviate it. And he fired 2 rounds in this undercover camouflage U.S. Marshal's direction that he just saw shoot his dog, and he turned to run for home. Another Marshal who's from Boston, Mass, not too far from here, he shot this little fella in the right arm, about blew his arm off the elbow. But Kevin heard it when they hit Salmon's back. It was like he said, it sounded like when somebody punched you in the back real hard, takes the wind out of you. Well, later on, it had blown his heart right out. When I picked him up off the ground dead, chunks of meat was falling out of his mouth. His little eyeballs was halfway open and rolled back, and the whites, you don't forget that stuff.
There you go. Worth it for the last second. I don't know, something about just fucked up. Just seeing him looking at his son's picture like that. Yeah, I don't know. That'll destroy a man. Moving on. Speaking of a destroyed man who's no longer with us, the whole Kirk shenanigans. Here's Ian. Oh my God, you'd be kidding me. Luckily, I don't have video here, but I'm already seeing the notification that video's out, so that's great. But I'll fix that for the next one. Here's Ian Smith that I think kind of sets the stage for this. He goes, "I'm Team America. I'm Team Candace." He goes, "You're all fucking goopers participating in a live-action reality TV show." Exactly. Everyone, I feel like everyone's like, "Oh, you're talking shit about Candace. What do you like, the Fed slob narrative?" Like, what are you, fucking stupid? But I haven't really had enough time to really hone in too much on some of the wild shit Erica Kirk be saying. So I figured I'd let James Lee do it for me, because there's been so much going on. It's been hard to keep up. I'm trying to show you guys some of the wild shit Candace has been doing and acting like, some of the the beast between her and Tim Pool and all the other the gay drama. So we didn't really hone in on some of the valid concerns about Erica Kirk and stuff she's been doing. I think we did a little bit. It seems very much looking like a kind of running cover for the bag. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Just seems like, I don't know, maybe she's just dumb. I mean, sometimes women be like that. I don't know, they just buy the official narrative without hardly thinking about it. So maybe it's just as simple as that. I mean, you'd think when it was your husband, you'd be a little bit more skeptical. But either way, she's been acting weird. So let's hear James Lee tell us all about it.
This right here, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to say it. This right here, what's going on, this is what we call a psychological operation.
He would walk through the door, drop his bags. Daddy's home. Take his phone. Friday night. Shabbat shalom.
Is she a rapper now? What was that little rhyme there? Daddy's home. Throws the phone. Shabbat shalom. I asked Grok, do Christians say Shabbat shalom? And the response was no. Christians typically do not say Shabbat shalom. Shabbat Shalom is a traditional Hebrew greeting used by Jews on the Sabbath, Friday evening through Saturday evening. It literally means Sabbath peace or peaceful Sabbath and is specific to Jewish observance of Sabbath. At this point, I am fully convinced this is a psyop, right? Now that Charlie Kirk is no longer around to speak for himself, the new CEO of TPUSA, Erica Kirk, is using this moment to basically push Israel down our throats.
We have over 1,000. We have around 1,070 major handpicked evangelical pastors. We have over 200 connected to Donald Trump in the White House. These are the media people. These are the social media people. They influence tens of millions of people. And this is the first time in Israel's history it's ever happened. By the way, they're not coming on a tour. They're coming to become official ambassadors for the state of Israel.
Israeli ambassadors. Did he just say the quiet part out loud? And also, there are whistleblowers out there right now claiming, allegedly, that Turning Point USA itself has been compromised by foreign governments. Are we not allowed to ask any questions that one of the largest political organizations in the United States might be compromised by a foreign government?
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode, going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
No, your family is your family. The people who work at TPUSA, who work for you at TPUSA, they are your colleagues. So we should have the right to ask questions. We should have the right to investigate your organization's ties to potentially shadowy figures or funding. And yes, we should have the right to question if the organization that you lead is potentially colluding with a certain foreign government.
Well, let's check in the latest on Candace. I know we talked about on Already Dead and in the morning. I think in the morning when we talked last morning dump, last we had talked is they were getting ready to meet. I think they had actually already met, but no one had revealed any information yet. So There was going to be a Candace episode later that day, which I watched. I haven't been watching them religiously, but this one seemed like I ought to see what the fuck happened here, because this was a Candace and Erica meeting in a private meeting. So think something would come of it. Like, hey, is there going to be a big blowout? Is it going to be a shut it down? Is it going to be what's going on here? Well, it seems a whole lot more like a shut it down type situation. For example, and I did watch, like I said, I watched this for you guys yesterday, but I did miss some stuff on that first go around. So thankfully, there's all sorts of clips online. I thought initially like the biggest thing was that like, oh well, she kind of grouped up and they talked intel, and she got the what was his name, the McCoy. I forget the name of the son, Mikey McCoy call log out of that, which I don't really know what to make of it. Whatever, he calls them people. But there was some other things. Obviously, there was stuff that remember Candace was floating around the claims that he was gonna get killed or whatever, and he was telling people this. It looks like it may have shifted forms a little bit. So let's watch this clip.
I will say I was immediately refreshed by the fact that one of the first things that Erica did was she owned the lies, or rather, I guess they would cage it as miscommunications that were coming from various people at the company. Like, look, this is a company with 650 people that are employed. Everybody at this time is exceedingly emotional, and they are communicating. And no matter what somebody says on Twitter, they assume that this communication has come down from management, and that's not always a circumstance. But they owned right away, which felt great, that if you guys recall, Erica sat down with Glenn Beck. I actually missed this portion because I didn't get to watch the interview in its entirety, and we were pulling clips because a lot was coming out very quickly. But there was a portion that was going around that was viral, and it was Erica saying that she had Charlie's phone and that Charlie never texted anybody the night before saying that he thought that they were going to kill him. And that obviously reflected poorly on me because I was the one who said that he did, in fact, text multiple people the night before. And then I went on Jimmy Dore on Friday, Jimmy Dore's show, and I clarified. I said, Andrew Colvett told me specifically that he was one of the people that received this text message. So I got that first person. I didn't get that from a source. I got that directly from Andrew Colvett. And then somebody who had access to Dan Flood's communications said that Dan Flood similarly received a text message. They owned that right away and explained. Erica said that she has Charlie's phone. She's looking at his iMessages. And it turns out that he, like everybody else, communicates on Signal. He communicates on Telegram. And that those when she heard me say that, they then went and looked. And yes, that what I said was true. Andrew Colvett received a message the night before, and Dan Flood received a message the night before. Now, they asked me if I had actually like a concrete a copy of what Dan Flood got the night before. And I said, no. If somebody told me what it said, which was almost exactly what Andrew said, which is they're going to kill me. Andrew did not know who they were, that he was referring to were, but they clarified that the message that Dan Flood received said the left is going to kill me. So I can't confirm that one way or the other. I have to trust them on that because I did not see that concrete message. I was told that it said they.
All right. So now the all these messages of they're gonna kill me, that she's been floating about. Well, I talked to Erica and she said that. Well, that was they meant the left. They said the left, and I can't confirm it, but that's what they're saying. So. I mean, bear in mind, I guess she's just relaying what was told to her, to be fair. So I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean that's true or not, but just saying that's what's been thrown out. I do want to remind you guys that in 2016, while working for a private equity firm in Manhattan, Candace Owens stopped paying rent on her $3,550 per month luxury apartment. Despite paying no rent, she continued living another 6 months, then sued the landlord for the apartment having black mold, which she claimed made her very ill. This is the photo she submitted as evidence that she suffered from eczema and other ailments. This photo right here, we was kings and shit type stuff. So despite paying no rent, she continued living there. I read that. Candace couldn't produce an expert witness to support her allegations, which the court concluded were a crock of shit. When the landlord countersued, she lost and was ordered to pay $17,719.90 in unpaid rent, plus her landlord's legal expenses. She was also the face of Blexit, and she was a victim of coordinated racial abuse. And she's also the one who made that weird doxing site. So these are things to remember. Normally, I've been sitting on this for a while. I felt a little gross. Didn't want to bring up some of the stuff because, for one, I don't know. This could just be shit that people are running with. But she addressed a few different things that were being run about her and her family last night. But I think it's funny she's mentioned, giving people shit multiple times for sins of omission. And I feel like she admitted something. She slapped down some theories about her, but didn't address others. To which, everyone has a past. This is why I didn't really feel right bringing this stuff up entirely in the past, because it seems super old. I also don't know to what degree it's legit. But, considering that I've seen this one run with some huge ones, and she slapped down some other stuff that I hadn't even seen on the timeline. For example, I guess there were people running with conspiracies that her husband went to Qatar or something, which I've never even seen anyone talking about that. She slapped that down. I think she slapped one or two other ones down that I really hadn't even heard of. So I just find it funny that the prominent ones that prominent people are sharing around, she doesn't address. The ones that seem more resolute, which, whatever, it's fine. Own up to it, whatever. I mean, hell, that's even my perspective on the whole her dad being Sandy Hook thing. I mean, who knows? Maybe she is some sort of industry insider who came up through some weird untoward means, and somewhere along the way she decided, you know what, I'm a real girl, and I have my own real thoughts, and I'm not going to let you fucking control me. But maybe that's why she broke from Daily Wire. Maybe. But there does come to be some sort of like, okay, well, then okay, maybe especially while these things are popping off pretty hard, people are super chatting like crazy in your chat, everyone's telling you about this, instead of addressing some other stuff that people don't even really give a shit about, or no one really even really believed in anyways, you should probably address that and at least be like, yes, maybe there's a way to understand this, maybe it's incorrect, maybe it's oh yeah, that is right, my dad's an industry insider, like, yeah, I mean, maybe I didn't know how I was ever going to broach this in the past, because obviously this makes me look kind of wild, kind of fed jackets me or whatever. But like, hey, this is the deal. Like, I mean, I've told you guys about my past with the military, and like some of the stuff I've even joked about, like, hey, you guys are totally going to fed jacket me with this. But like, hey, at least I'm like, to some degree, I understand that. It's like, that is my past. I made those stupid decisions. Like, I was the one who was trying to do some sort of spec ops shit, and I fucking failed. And I totally get why a annoyed out conspiracy researcher would be like, did you really fail? Did you get sheep dipped? And whatever. Okay, cool. Keep an eye. That's why I say keep your eye on the ball. Watch what I say. Watch what I do. I mean, don't get too fucking nuts with it, I guess, and to be, I don't know, what's the thing where you look for dots that aren't there? Don't go too nuts with it. But if you see me unironically fucking 7,000 posting, being like Israel must defend itself or whatever, I don't know, you probably should conclude I got. But I think when it looks like you're some sort of industry insider and you're not willing to admit that, I mean, if you want to be, if you're one of those people, if you're trying to be this like Tucker Carlson type thing, where Tucker Carlson very clearly has Fed ties and he's been sort of admitted some of it, it's like you're trying to do this real boy thing. I think Tucker could also benefit from this too. He's always weirdly gay about his dad's past. Just own up to it. Yeah, my dad was clearly a Fed. Hell, maybe even, I've worked for the feds here and there, off and on. Obviously, I can't tell you what, some sort of level of honesty, I think would really do wonders here. So it makes you, I don't know, makes you question some things. But moving on, here's another clip from Candace. Tim Pool saying Candace confirms she talks to Erica's lawyer is now backpedaling it, which is, I didn't even notice this the first time around. So while I obviously I have choice words for Tim as well, I do think it's interesting that the lawyer is evoked here, and it adds a whole other element to this whole dynamic. That there is a lawyer involved, despite the fact it's being portrayed as some sort of a private meeting between, I don't know, maybe not necessarily friends, but people working together, sharing intel, friendly. Or is this like a legit shut it the fuck down? Here is your cease and desist in person. Do you really want to keep moving with this? Honestly, I'm far more partial to the idea of like, so somebody got pulled aside and was like, hey, there's information out about you right now that's clearly not going to allow you to go the angle you want to go. So we got to pull an audible and switch up the narrative a little bit. The whole Sandy Hook part 2 is not happening here. We're going to have to try something else. You're going to have to fall in line. We're not going to do a controlled demolition of TPUSA anymore. Make this whole topic verboten. I think we're going to have to go a different route. So fall in line. That's what feels like more what's going to happen. But maybe I'm too noided. I don't know, but feels a little wild. But let's see what she has to say here. And bear in mind, listen to the lawyer thing. I haven't watched this clip. I mean, I watched the show originally. I didn't catch the lawyer drop, but I don't know. Maybe Tim's onto something. Let's watch this.
I communicate, and that I did communicate to them, and I hope that they took me seriously on this, or rather that they take my strong advice on this. I said one of the reasons why I really want to sit down is because I want to walk out of here and feel confident saying to my audience, hey, like, there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. Like, that more will come out, but you can take it from me that this is what happened. I was looking to achieve that because there's been a lot of signaling from various people, some people who are experts, some people who have been involved in cases, that there's obviously going to be stuff that the public does not have access to. And so it is at least plausible that they have seen very clear footage that we've been asking for of Tyler Robinson getting up there and taking the shot. Like, they have access to UVU camera. So I was hoping to hear that. And I said that I want to hear why people feel so confident at Turning Point USA that Tyler Robinson is the guy. And at this point, they elected to call the lawyer, like, you know, their lawyer who is involved in this case, one of the lawyers that's involved in this case. There's always a team of lawyers, especially for something like this. And what I got from the lawyer did not make me feel that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. It did not make me feel confident that he didn't or did shoot Charlie Kirk. I was very surprised by this. He spoke a very long time. I asked, you know, can you share with me what it is? And I said, when you share this with me, I will not say what that thing is. If that's what if we want to protect the integrity of the case, I'm not gonna. If you say we've got the footage of him taking a shot, I promise I won't say that to the audience, but I will communicate to them that you have something that is solid. And no, to the exact contrary. This guy effectively said, not effectively, he said that they have nothing like but the affidavit. Okay, so what you have, what we have seen is what they have. What is being discussed publicly, you are this whole like non-expert problem with like, well, you don't know. It's like what you read, his messages that don't have any dates on it, Tyler Robinson writing out everything in the clean alibi. That's what they have. And what he explained to me was that that's the affidavit stage. That's where it's at. And then what takes place
By the way, that was not me. That's whoever recorded this.
now is the investigation is ongoing, right? So right now they're looking for more information. And once investigators, they could very well have obviously footage. And that is why they might feel that, oh, we're definitely get this prosecution. But the reality is they don't actually share that information with the victim. They don't share that information with Erica. They don't, in this part of the process, they will not know what investigators have discovered. This is what the lawyer told me until May. Okay. They have not seen anything that you have not seen is what I want you to know. So with that in mind, I'm sitting here going, why are you signaling? Why do I feel like the public's being gaslit on this? There's been nothing that's convincing. There are so many commentators who have gone out and said to you, it's overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The text messages that don't have a date, that don't even sound real, that's overwhelming.
All right, now I gotta say, now after watching this, I gotta say the framing here by Tim Pool feels incredibly disingenuous. It says confirmed she talked with a lawyer is now backpedaling. Actually, watching that clip, I mean, they had to call the lawyer, so it wasn't like the lawyer was present there. And yeah, while I'm very skeptical of Candace, to be fair, I mean, she could have just been relaying what they said, that she talked to a lawyer, and she's saying her claim here is that they have nothing, that at least she didn't give them anything that was convincing, and it was just the stuff that, you know, the general public knows is what they're latching on to. So really, really dishonest framing by Tim, which I guess is par for the course. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely stuff to point to with her, but okay, to be fair, I guess a little apologies on my part. This is an info dump show, so I don't watch this stuff before. I mean, sometimes I have a little bit here and there, but for the most part, we're going through this stuff fresh together. Obviously, I have my doubts of Candace, but this seems like an incredibly disingenuous way to frame this. So saying this is backing down, she lost, and using this as an example, referencing the lawyer. No, if anything, she said she talked to a lawyer on the phone because they're like, oh, well, my lawyer will tell you why it's so good, almost like a deferment to authority. Oh, maybe she'll buy this. And the lawyer told her nothing of importance or of substance, and she goes, okay, well, this hasn't changed my opinion about anything. So really dishonest, but I guess this is par for the course for Tim. Speaking of which, check this out. Here is Kim Iverson, who I guess apparently got accused of having a stinky cooter by Tim Pool. Not even kidding. I'm dead serious. Tim Pool has been in a very weird space lately. I think it's those low numbers and that Star of David calling for him. But here's Kim Iverson kind of talking. I guess apparently, according to the caption that we saw here, is she's alluding to that some of the co-hosts or something along those lines have straight up said that they're pressured into supporting Israel or something along those lines. So, but yes, this is also colored by the context that Tim recently, for some reason, turned his guns on Kim. Not exactly why, and was kind of accusing her of having poor hygiene and smell. And I mean, Kim, I guess, actually threatened to sue him for that, I guess, too, which is kind of nuts. But I guess somehow, I don't know the specific claims he made. I think he may have ended up deleting the tweets or whatever. But apparently he made very, very specific claims that she can be like, this is 100% not true. I mean, because I know it sounds on its face ridiculous. They're like, you stink. And you're like, I'm going to sue you for defamation. You're like, well, how do you prove that? What do you go like, Your Honor, smell me? But no, I guess he did refer to a very, very specific situation. She's like, this is impossible. But either way, very childish, kind of ridiculous, even if Kim did kind of stink, which I don't know, maybe she does. Maybe she's a really sneaky bitch. I have no idea. She seems nice. I don't know. I assume she smells nice, pleasant. But I have no idea. It's also still a weird thing to do, to put someone on blast for that. But maybe it's because maybe Kim has a backbone, unlike Tim. So maybe that's why. Let's watch this.
That was my suspicion, only because there were some weird moments when I was over there that when I mentioned something about Israel Palestine and his staff, not him but his staff, he wasn't in the room, was very quick to be like, we're pro-Israel. We're really pro-Israel. We're pro-Israel. And I just thought that was such an odd reaction. And it was clearly coming from a place of we're owned and we're being told to say this. I mean, that's what it wasn't like a natural point in the conversation. It was like, oh, no, we're pro-Israel. We're pro-Israel. Like they've been told you must be pro-Israel. That's what it felt like to me. And that's just, going on my feelings. And then there have been some other little things like some Daily Wire paraphernalia, like mugs and things that have been around there. So I thought maybe that's that they were somewhat funded or part of the Daily Wire ecosystem, even though not officially on their site as one of their shows, but part of their ecosystem, which other platforms have done that before. I believe the Young Turks has done some deals kind of like that, where they're a part of it, you're a part of them, but not really. I think that even MSNBC has done that with some shows online that seem independent, but they're actually affiliated with MSNBC. So, that has been my thinking. But with Daily Wire having some struggles, maybe they don't have the money for Tim, and maybe Tim is experiencing some financial trouble, and now he wants to try to gin up some scare tactics. And the way to do it, to get people intrigued, do you think, or to get people on your side and to support you, is to be like, look, my life is under threat, and it's all Candace Owens' fault. And she's causing me death threats and shootings at my house and people being beat up, and it's all her fault. It's all her fault. It's all her fault. I just don't know if anybody's really actually buying it. I don't know if this strategy is actually working, but it's an interesting one, to claim harassment and threats. But I think the only way you can actually get away with saying and have it be even remotely believable of saying, I'm being threatened and targeted is if you're speaking up against the establishment. And Tim doesn't anymore. He falls right in line. He goes to those Chatham House rules meetings with Netanyahu, and he goes and he falls in line with Israel, and he falls in line with the establishment narrative. And so, people sell out for money all the time when they need money, and they go to the establishment narrative in order to do it. And, so it's not really viable to sit there and be like, oh no, I'm under threat when you're like totally the establishment lackey.
Yep, 100%. I didn't see in there though where she said anything about the co-host. Maybe I missed that, but the caption there was, let me see. Kim Iverson exposes a humiliating moment. Tim Pool's staff admit they are forced to be pro-Israel to please their donors. She reveals how so-called independent creators are actually paid establishment lackeys, pushing Zionist narratives for cash. Maybe I missed that specific spot where she was talking about Tim Pool's staff, but yeah. Interesting nonetheless. And speaking of interesting, have you guys seen some of the new photos that have come out? This is from Charles McClintock Wilson, which I don't really know who that guy is, but seen some new photos that have come out of Charlie. So check this shit out. See if you guys can't figure what's being alluded to. Look at that, a hand. That's Charlie Kirk's hand there. I mean, look at some of the odd discoloration. See there, you can see some more odd redness. Here's another photo. Here's another one where the more full picture, kind of like weird red, which I don't know, maybe that's just lightly like blood or something. And then another one on this. Now, well, what people are saying, these look like burn marks and skin starting to bubble. Like for example, the hand is quite dramatic. Now, as I said, I think we talked about this a little bit last night. I don't know. This could be I never trust any of this stuff too much. It's always like, I don't know, this is some sort of trick being played on me, some sort of playing with pixels or resolution or whatever, changing the coloration. But this is what people are running with now, right? That perhaps there's an electrocution. So I mean, that's a fun one you guys can go dig into on your own. We don't have enough time to really go too into that. But if you look at the platform he was on, and you kind of have a little bit of understanding of how electricity moves, you're like, okay, all right, a little bit plausible, still a little weird. Now it does kind of, that gives you another reason of why they would pull that camera from the back like they did, because obviously you'd probably see an arc coming from somewhere. This is where people say perhaps you could have got the odd impact or whatever the hell you want to call it from the arc running through or something because of his metal necklace he was wearing. There's also pictures I've seen of people say where the voltage that would do that would likely break the necklace as well, and you see the necklace literally fall off on the ground. So interesting little side. I don't know how much I buy it, but to kind of add a little bit to that, I know people have been talking about a long time about the hands here of Charlie Kirk, and just kind of how it doesn't really make sense. For example, I guess Erica's hands got all gargantuan, and for some reason, upon death, Charlie shrunk, and his hands became near mannequin-like, which I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I don't really know a ton about dead bodies. I don't really know. I've heard people say that some treatment they do for the morgues does kind of make them more stiff and plastic-like. It's been forever since I've been to a funeral, so I don't really know. But here's a side-by-side of their wedding photo with his hands next to hers, which, I mean, once again, it looks like Erica's hand significantly grew or Charlie's hand significantly shrunk. This is from that weird video that she posted. And here's a photo of the lady who posted these photos. Who is just a chick, and her husband is 6'6", and this is her hand next to her husband's. Which I'm 5'5", my wife's 5 foot, and this is I mean, my hand's probably not quite that dramatic next to my wife's hands, and even mine is significantly larger. And Charlie was a large man. He was well over 6 foot, I think. He was like 6'1", 6'2", something like that. So yeah, he would have had some big old honkers compared to Erica. So weird. I don't know. I mean, don't trust your lying eyes, I guess. But something is odd about this photo. But guys, don't worry though. Don't worry, because in that episode with Candace, she did reference the electrical narrative, and she said, No. Don't worry about, guys. Just trust me. I talked to someone. They said the hands were fine. Hands are good. We don't worry. Candace said we're good, so we'll take her word for it, right, guys? We'll just take her word for it. Now, to be fair, I have no idea. I have no idea if this is legit or not, but it did feel weird watching that episode. Going out on a little bit of a bang here. I thought it was pretty interesting. Ken shared this recently. Apparently, Tyler Robinson was playing Wordle just 55 minutes before shooting Charlie Kirk, according to the Washington Post, which also amazingly reached Robinson in jail for a 40-minute call in October. Robinson was on Wordle again 80 minutes afterward and says, "You see the news," he reportedly wrote. So go check out Headline USA to read the rest of that article. But interesting stuff for sure. Let's roll to the chat one last time, and then I have a funny outro for you guys that I think you'll like. Here's a little taste of it already. There you go. I think you'll enjoy it. Don't worry, honey. White Candace isn't real. It can't hurt you. Here's the meme of White Candace right here. But I have an outro with White Candace that you'll enjoy. Let's roll the chat. See what's up. See. Calm down, Gerald. We're gonna hit him with a bonk him with a horny hammer. Gerald saying Kim's hot. Tim not. Stahl says, "I bet it tastes like cashews." Tim wears a beanie to cover up his mangina. Says PGR. People are saying Tim's cooter stinks. Martin Max in the tweet response from Candace to Rimjob Tim calling him a bitch is peak political feuds. They both are not to be trusted, but that's just comedy. Yeah, there are. I didn't cover it today because it's just not substantive whatsoever. But if you do want some fun, go. They beefed back and forth on the timeline. She called him a bitch and stuff. Interesting stuff. Fun time. It is peak grifter entertainment. If you want to check that out, go check that out on your own. Let me see what else we got in here. JC says, remember Sour Snatch Lids? She was the worst Zionist grifter on Timcast. Yeah, and it's funny for all the righteous indignation of Tim and all the shit he talks about honor and yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of weird stuff with her. She's a Zionist grifter, and there's a lot of weird, like, there's some lore there. I'm not going to go into it because it is kind of like gross, and I don't really like to dig into those kind of stuff too much, but there's some lore. There's some lore. We'll just say that. Black Eye said, so no flip. I think Candy's genuine, but being fed bullshit. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she's. I have no idea. I really have no idea one way or the other. It's hard to read either way. Wild. Shadow says that looks like embalmed hands. Okay, cool. Rockbiz says a plastic-like thing is real. Absolutely, the size doesn't change though. So I guess them looking plastic is normal, but the size things is ridiculous. So. Let me see. Black Eye says Timmy seems like he might be burning it all down on purpose. Take the money and run. Yeah, sure does. White Candace looks like Asian with that eye surgery. Here's mustache says, damn, woke up late, missed the show. I'll listen to it from the beginning of work. Well, hell yeah, brother. Good to see you here. Good morning, Lumpy Camo. White Candace Owens. Yep. Brian Liberty says, I know you said you don't want to dig into it, but now I completely want to know what this lore is. Well, I didn't also want to speak out of turn because I never really took the time to really get knowledgeable on it, but it was like something like 5 years ago. There was all sorts of Timcast drama with Sour Patch Lids or whatever, Lydia and one of the old co-hosts or something, but kind of stuff. They were doing some weird sex stuff is what is the vibe. I forget the specifics on it. Is what, at least that's the rumor. So all right, guys, for those who want to support the show, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review in iTunes or Spotify. You can follow the show on Twitter at TowerGangJose. And if you want to support the show in the best way you can do that with money at patreon.com/nowayjose2020. You also got that QR code in the top left-hand corner you can do. And for those, and if you want to support the show there, you get a whole host of perks. You get at the $2 level, you get access to early episodes. I do about 1 to 2 of those per week. Try to keep about 4 behind the paywall at any given time. For example, tonight I actually have Jacob come back on the show for part 3 of our West Memphis 3 series. And then we also, you also get the ad-free RSS feed. You also get the Telegram. You get the pre-chat, or the pre-show, post-show, and the video calls. Me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which was last night. And if you weren't poor, you could have been hanging out with us and talking shit with Dana Doodah on video. That would have been cool. Hanging out in the post-show. She hung out for a little while after that. It was pretty cool. She was in the pre-show as well. I also give a big shout out to my sponsors at the end of every episode. It's a big thank you for everything they do. I have my previous co-host, Entire Gang, at Leonard Chode, also at Brigade D's, at ZLVRCK, at _Zeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Kleebold. Big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Tackles, 1 Harry Car for Kids, No Free Lunch Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Winograd of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. With that, guys, I will see you guys tomorrow, roughly around 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll see. Probably won't make it, but hit that bell for notifications so it'll remind you when I'm going live, and we'll see you then. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Hey, everyone. I've had some time to think things through and have changed my mind on certain topics. For one, I am now certain that Charlie Kirk had actually passed away from natural causes. Also, can I just say, I love the French, love them, French fries. Charlie loved French fries, too. He wouldn't stop talking about them on our trip to Tel Aviv. Lovely place, by the way.